The Buffalo Sabres are on to the offseason as they did wrap up locker cleanout yesterday, finishing up with head coach Lindy Ruff and general manager Jarmo Kekalainen both speaking with the media. If you missed any of that, you can find both press conferences up at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. Paul Hamilton also has a number of articles on what we heard yesterday, again, up at our website, WGR550.com. Staying with the NHL, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final is tonight. Montreal at Carolina. Puck drop just after 8 o'clock, and this will be Carolina's first game since May 9th. In the NFL, the Detroit Lions have locked up linebacker Jack Campbell to a 4-year deal, but so far, no word yet on the money attached to the contract, but Campbell himself did officially confirm it is a 4-year deal for him. The Bisons are in action tonight. They are on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch at 6:35. In the majors, we have the Mets at the Nationals in just about an hour at 4:05, and the Yankees, they host Toronto at 7:05. While over in basketball, we've got Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. The Knicks host the Cavs. Game time is at 8, and New York does lead that series 1-0. Catch every take, every reaction, and every big Buffalo sports moment live now on YouTube with Jeremy and Joe in the morning and Schopp and the Bulldog in the afternoon. Watch your favorite WGR hosts anytime, anywhere, live on air, live on YouTube. It's brought to you by Belknap Heating and Cooling. For more comfort and less ka-ching, give Belknap a ring. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp.
Last night at 12:30 in the morning, I ate a can of mushrooms. I did. Pieces and stems, if you're wondering. As opposed to buttons. It was pieces and stems, which will be my next year's fantasy football team name.
Pieces and stems.
Pieces and stems.
And the Bulldog.
I should be ashamed to admit this publicly, but whatever. How long have we been doing this? I'm a junkie. I can't be trusted.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Man, again, hearing that. One more goal and all my teams now are known as Greenway's Pants. Unless there's something else weirder about the winner, that I would go with that instead. But I just love the idea of honoring the season by changing all the teams I own to Greenway's Pants. And I would be like Greenway's Pants 1, Greenway's Pants. Sometimes I'll just jump to a bigger number because I want people in my league to think that I have Greenway's Pants 74.
Yeah.
Wow, this guy's got 74 teams. Just to sort of throw them off their game a little bit. But you can't do it because they lost.
Well, I mean, you could.
I won't.
I
wouldn't.
Yeah, you're choosing not to. There's no. You could still do the same thing.
It's always no. That's right. That's fair. It's always interesting to me how the outcome of a game or a series basically tells you whether or not anything that happened beforehand is worth remembering and honoring or caring about.
I'm already finding myself. I'm a little like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, already looking at the photo of his parents disappearing. I want to hang on to Saturday night. It was so awesome, and I feel like it's already disappearing. they lost Game 7. Like, oh, what a great! You mean they won Game 6, 8-3? Yeah, that happened. I just feel like that's already a million miles away from me.
There are so many of those Sabres games.
Yes.
That's what happens when you never win Game 7.
See, I'm saying yes, just assuming that's true because I don't remember any of them.
In a lot of those series, I think I want to say they won Game 6.
Yeah.
Not in the Leno one. Well, that's the Philadelphia. The last time they were in Game 7, they lost on the Leno goal in Game 6.
Right.
Which was its own tragedy.
And they lost Game 6 against Pittsburgh, 1 as well, which was also kind of really sad.
Never mind.
Yeah. So I remember some stuff. But no, those are beats, though. Of course I remember the beats. I'm going to remember some game where, John Tucker scored 4 goals in a playoff game or something. I know it's in the window within which he was on the Sabres. I have no idea what year or what game that was. It doesn't matter. They didn't win the series. Great, good for you. I'm sure I enjoyed it at the moment, but it just became entirely and utterly forgettable after you didn't win the game that mattered.
That's probably 88. What I would like to know is, and I don't remember how optimistic or confident I was in the middle of those series against Boston and Montreal or even Quebec in the 80s. I know how I would be now. I mean, I'd be pragmatic about it, but I'd also be like, why not be optimistic? Just like, what does the past have to do with anything? In those days, your team was more the same team year to year than it is now. I mean, this Sabre season, that's irrelevant because they had not been in the playoffs for 15 years and nobody was around except for Lindy Ruff. Nobody was around for that. Right. So, but sports are so much more changeable now, and rosters, roster change. That Sabres decade of frustration when they had some very good teams was, there was only so much you could do about it. There were more trades, like there were big trades that the Sabres made. I don't know. I'm not prepared to sort of like defend that, but I think all those teams had Mike Foligno on it to me. Like they just all had Housley and Ramsey and Darren Pupa and Mike Foligno, and I felt like I was losing the same series every year.
Right. They just sort of blend together.
Not that those weren't good players, but I'm going up against Neely and Stéphane Richer, and I'm just like, I don't know. John Tucker scored. The game was not on TV where I lived.
Okay.
I don't know if it was on TV locally, but whether we didn't have cable or whatever it was, I know I couldn't watch that game. And he scores 4 goals, an overtime goal to beat Boston. I think 88, middle of that series, or maybe down in the series already. I can't tell you if I felt like, well, they were going to do it.
Yeah. You probably didn't because
probably didn't
because they weren't. That was kind of their MO there for a while, like you said. Like there's a period of time where they had very good teams with excellent results in the regular season, and they just couldn't get out of the first round.
This time, round 1 and round 2, I always thought they were going to do it. Well, not every minute. I guess 3-1 down in Game 6, I wasn't
feeling great.
To bet on them.
As Lion is walking down the hallway, like, oh, okay, this seems like we're toast.
I looked at it, but I didn't pull the trigger on a bet plus 400 or something.
No, I'm definitely feeling. I saw already a picture of Hurricane fans in a parking lot tailgating at like 2 p.m. And
really?
I
all of them?
Just like cars, two cars with some flags.
Sounds right.
Like so, but that should. I wanted that to be us. I'm going to stop myself from saying it should be us. I wish it were us.
Wait, what time is the game?
Not 8. Not like necessarily tailgating with the Carolina, but being ready to go down there and like get in their hair. Just make our presence felt.
I asked because if it were 7, I would totally agree. 7:30, I don't know. It's a long shift. I don't know if I want to be here for a 7:30. If it's 8, we're probably going all the way.
Yeah.
Oh, this is better.
Yeah. So anyway, that
not really.
And is it okay to say I badly want Montreal to beat Carolina? Like, I'm not even like just slightly like one side or the other, barely off a neutral. Like, I want Montreal to hammer them. I don't know that they can or will, certainly, but I don't come out of losing to Montreal mad at Montreal. I want Montreal to beat them because then I feel like I could have beat them, and then I don't know, that just will work for me in some way, some cosmic peace I will find. I just hate Carolina. Is really it. I got way more of a beef, even though they're way newer. Maybe this is part of the problem. I mean, Montreal's been around since forever. Since I started watching hockey, there's been a Montreal to worry about, and they've often been in our division. They were a big part of that 10 years in a row not getting out of the first round. And I still, despite that, don't have it in me to like root against them playing the Carolina Hurricanes.
I can't even figure out how to pretend to care who wins. I just, I'm.
Well, that's markedly different than me.
The jury is out. Whatever. Like I'm gone fishing.
Okay.
When it comes to the hockey playoffs now, I don't. How would I do it? Well, you did it naturally. You didn't
easy.
fake it.
Who do you hate more?
I don't.
That's it.
I don't have a good enough reason to care who wins. I don't really want to watch it. I watched the playoffs for the Sabres, and they're done. And so it's nice out, and I'm done. I mean, it's going to be light out until 9 o'clock for the next 8 weeks. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm Mr. Outdoors, but
right. I'm about that. What are you going to go play some disc golf after the show here in these hours you've got after until 9 o'clock?
Say what you want. Last night, when you might have been watching the Western Conference Finals of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I was watching Ken Burns baseball for the 80th time. I don't know. Like, should I have been watching the Avs? I don't care about the Avs or the Vegas. It's Vegas. I'm not bragging, because I think I sort of feel bad about this. I want to be real about it, but I sort of feel bad about it. Like, I should care about the Knicks. I don't care about the Knicks. I don't. I'm not sorry. We watched Top Chef last night, and then my wife went to bed, and I watched Christy Mathewson highlights. I don't know. It's even almost better for me than live baseball.
There are highlights. I feel like there's
No,
just still photos of Christy Mathewson. And
I don't think it's highlights.
People
You're
talking
right.
about
That's
what
fair.
he looked like.
There were pictures.
Yeah, right.
You've seen it.
Right, yes.
I do care about, and I think a couple of parts of this are interesting to me, it's still so fresh. We just had press conferences yesterday and the day before. Broad thoughts on what they should be doing this summer, what they should be going for. Players, positions, concepts, like what if you're in, are they having these meetings today? Does it take the weekend first, holiday weekend? You come back next week, and I mean the draft is a month from tomorrow, I believe. It's not like there's a whole big break right here for organizations. I think that's interesting. And then after that, I was thinking about, like, how much longer will we really have the Sabres that we want to talk about, in the sense that we want to talk about them? You know, that off-season moves are going to be afoot, and the draft is in Buffalo for what it's worth. But we always, even when they were good, it's so long ago, but even then, you get to the point in the summer where everybody does go on vacation and hockey kind of stops. I don't think it's stopped right now. I think, you had the coach and GM yesterday talking about their thoughts, their reflections, their vision. And you had Kekalainen said a few pretty straightforward things about how he looks at Byram, Benson, Tuck. You got takes from him.
Yeah.
So it's still, to me, time. It's still the right time to bounce ideas around, like we were in that room. What would we do with Alex Tuck? What would we do with these possible contract extensions? Do we want to go get a goalie? Do we want to trade a good defenseman for a good forward? Like these kinds of ideas. But they will, at some point, maybe by next week even, will kind of have moved on. Even though a lot of the stuff that could happen.
Well, there'll be like a pause in it, really, because it's not going to be while these games are going on, whether you're watching or not. Like there's games still. There's still 2 more rounds of the playoffs. We're only halfway through, and so movement. There may be reports about the Sabres are this close to this or that with Benson or Byram or Tuck even. Well, there may not be. There's usually not a lot of news. I feel like the news breakers sort of cooperate with the league and don't break a lot of news during when, especially once the final starts. So it'll be quiet for a little while. I think that won't stop us from having the conversation you're suggesting will be had. But as far as like nuggets and stuff go, I don't know that there'll be a lot of that until we get clear of the games, and then it will be fast. Then the draft will be here, and then bam, bam, there's free agency, and then by mid-July, okay, anything else? Are we all done here? My team on the floor, kind of. I felt like there were enough juicy bits between like clues, not things that have to be irrefutably going to happen the way that it sounded yesterday. But like, for one thing, I thought both Kekalainen and Ruff sounded sort of eager to run the goaltending back from last year. All 3 guys are under contract. Lindy talked about how it worked and brought up this new rule that's coming in with about an emergency backup that every team's going to have and whatever. And I'm still not anywhere. I tried to get some clarity on like how that works if you've got 3 guys like the Sabres did almost all year versus a team that only has 2. Like, do I have to use an e-bug if I get to a 3rd guy, whereas this year they were getting dressed and ready to go in if needed? I don't know. So, but that can wait. Like the mechanics of how that's going to work doesn't really matter right now. The point is, Ruff sounded like, I got my 3 goalies to me yesterday, and I think Kekalainen to an extent sounded that way too. That doesn't mean somebody can't come in with a, hey, do you want to give up this, and this for that guy? Trade and like that just blows that out of the water. But right now, I bet that they run back the same 3 goalies. Last year,
I am eager to hear more about the rules on this because I hadn't heard about it anywhere else until yesterday. That the league is going to mandate that teams have a 3rd goalie who is on the roster, but can't be somebody that's played. What did we learn yesterday? There were some sort of terms to this.
I don't think it's on the roster, but he's someone that you're going to be employing.
I don't even know what the point is.
Yeah.
Did the league have a problem? Were there all these games where you were talking yesterday, like you could think of 2 games where a team lost both goalies to injury. Like what is even the impetus for this? I don't know that yesterday that was ever clarified. I guess it wasn't the point of the press conferences.
Right.
But Ruff brought it up. I don't know if you know. I thought like the way he sounded like, here comes a joke.
Right.
But it's not a joke. Like, well,
right.
I don't know if you know this, but the league is going to make us have an emergency backup goalie next year. So, I mean, that might be fortuitous to the Sabres because they might have, we thought early in the season, they probably should have given up on the 3rd goalie and just, come on, let's be real. Let's be a real team.
Mm-hmm.
What team has 3 goalies? And now maybe they're going to get away with it and actually be ahead of the curve.
Maybe a little bit of a trendsetter. Yeah, the biggest question I have about the how it's going to exactly work and what the rules are is if I choose to carry 3 because I like my guys and I want to have this other guy, I don't want to lose him, I want to develop him, and I want to have him available if one of the other guys can't play or whatever. And because it was notable to me that often, even though Lyon and Luukkonen were taking turns, they would get they didn't have to dress for the games they weren't playing. They were in a suit, sort of like a real night off. And maybe that's a little sneaky good part of this for them, like mentally anyway, and maybe to an extent physically too. But if I've got 3, do I then have to travel around with a 4th guy who's some former college guy that never played in the NHL before?
At the end of all this, so you all know what the season was. I mean, the season was largely about rotating goalies. And as you said, they even gave themselves the luxury of allowing their number 1A or 1B guy to just not even have to dress for a game, which is probably better than having him be the backup and just sort of be on call all night. I mean, maybe in a smaller way. So, bottom line, did it work? You got good to great seasons from both Luukkonen and Lyon. They carried the Sabres to first place, shockingly, in the division. 109 points. Nobody expected it. And they did it, not that they were the only reason, but they did it that way to the extent that when either one of them had an uneven game in the playoffs, nice word, I'm like, well, put the other one in. And the Sabres got to a point where they just did that.
Right.
And had the score been different in games 5, 6, and 7, or 5 and 7, maybe they just do it at different times. I think even 7, one more, 3-0, and he comes out. Luukkonen.
Probably
in game 7.
Yep.
So they got as far as they got doing it that way, but by the end of the Montreal series, this is a little bit of a stretch given game 7 because Luukkonen had some big moments in that game, but even the winner is not great. Did it work? Were they better off
Right. Can you say based on 82 games of the regular season with good to very good results from both guys, but a playoff where each guy got pulled more than one time? Right? Is that what that is what happened, right?
Luukkonen got pulled in game 2 of Boston.
Lyon went in, and he got pulled in game. When did he lose his grip on that job? After games 2 and 3 of the Montreal series.
Luukkonen, right? Yeah, I don't remember right now if he got pulled in 3. I don't think so.
But either way, he went. He got taken. Lyon got taken out. Luukkonen went back in because he won Game 4 in Montreal, and then Luukkonen blew up again in Game 5. Lyon went back in, and then Lyon got pulled in Game 6.
Yep.
So, does that set of games, right? A set of circumstances, the goalies being pulled like they were, invalidate them as an idea to be your tandem next year? I mean, that's tough to say, I think. You're talking about 82 games. I know the playoffs are going to be, we're going to get to a place where that's all that matters probably, right? But I'm not ready to just take for granted that they're going to put the same results on the ice, regardless of whether they make a change or not. But I think it's hard to say did the goaltending let them down in the end? Yes. But are you going to make it better? To me, the only thing you can do is do something outrageously huge. Because if you're not prepared to do that, and if that's not even available to you, because maybe, like I've said a few times, Edmonton maybe the last few years has wanted to do something outrageously huge and just couldn't get there for whatever reason. Do I need to tinker? Do I need to replace Luukkonen with someone who's basically Luukkonen or Lyon? Like if I go get Cam Talbot to replace Alex Lyon, what am I accomplishing exactly?
Right.
It's a different guy, but it's probably the same. So I think there's merit to, maybe it's still a little too recent that puck dipped and fluttered past Luukkonen and they lost in overtime at Game 7. But unless you're ready to go trade a bunch of stuff and then pay Igor Shesterkin $11.5 million, I don't think there's anything to really do in goal.
I think in the end, though, the number one reason why they lost is that they did not get enough saves. And that's Game 5 more than it is Game 7. I mean, Game 5, they had 3 leads at home, having won Game 4 if you want it, and Luukkonen didn't get the job done. And so it's to Lyon, and they get away with his awful start to Game 6. I mean, what are the playoffs about? I agree with what you said. I think, like, I've been consistent about this for 10 years or more. Like, I think a lot of goalies are the same, and you really can't predict it. And the Sabres finally got a year where their, mostly mid guys rose up and did what they did. But there's nothing about their team that, for me, was a bigger reason why they didn't win than they just did not get enough saves. And that's, even if it's a 3-2 game, I mean, that's the end of the series. So harsh, but that's, I think, the best reason I can come up with for it. Is it a important enough reason? Is it a problem? Like, what do you do with it? That's more important than whether it's like how much of a problem, if you want to use that word, it was in the playoffs. It's now on to next year, and sort of what do you do about it?
How do you improve it? Can you improve it by making lateral moves? I mean, you could. You could just get lucky then, and like, a guy has a career year for you, but you could also get that out of either one of the guys or any of the 3 guys that were here and played this past season.
Just put yourself, give the Sabres the benefit of the doubt that they're in next year's playoffs with the same goaltenders. Put yourself there into Game 1 next year. Like, all right, what are we doing? Is one guy playing 60 games? That makes it a no-brainer that he's playing in the, I don't know.
Probably not.
Why would they plan for that? 803-0550. Still sitting with it and trying to figure out what the best plans are for the future. Lines are open for your calls today. Paul Hamilton at 5, EJ Hradek at 6. We'll do some football with Sal Capaccio before that. That'll be at 4. talking more about some Bills topics. So that's ahead. Your calls are welcome now. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for listening. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller
incredible games. Alex Lyon and UP, they played the most of the games, and you had good seasons. I think the best season Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has ever had, numbers-wise, his save percentage and goals against average, both of them. And Alex Lyon's been a great mentor to our young goalies, so I think we're in a good spot.
Jarmo Kekalainen, who I will confess I did not know until yesterday was an NHL player once. Boston and Ottawa. Scored 5 goals. His first 2 goals in the NHL were both while playing for Boston in games in Edmonton in the same season.
He loved that building.
He must have loved that Northlands Coliseum.
Yep.
Both on Bill Ranford. Scored his 5th and final career goal while playing for Ottawa against Patrick Waugh. So he's in his book. Patrick Waugh is in his book.
Yeah, not bad.
He knows how to say Luukkonen's name. He knows how to say Helenius, which I'm not bragging about because I just got there only when I heard Helenius say it, which was when? Last week, maybe. I was bouncing around with it. I showed, wasn't to troll him, I showed Bulldog the Sabres game notes at the arena before Game 7, and the Sabres, I think that's an NHL production where the individual player bios, where they have the pronunciations of names, and it says Helenius, which is what I was going with.
Right.
But here's Kekalainen, a Finn,
Yeah.
and he said Helenius and didn't stop. He wasn't trying to make a point. He just said his name.
Helenius.
Helenius.
Yep.
So that's what it is.
I'm all ready for that for next year now. All right. Well, anyway, there's a clip of him sort of talking about what I indicated during the first segment. I thought both he and Ruff, again, you know, the season's over. You know, it would be very odd if either guy was going to sit there and say, you know, oh, well, we got to definitely take a wrecking ball to our goaltending situation. I mean, this is not going to happen unless the results may be warranted. And the team that lost Game 7 in overtime, even if there was goalie back and forth in the playoffs, it's not warranted. So, but to me, they both sound pretty comfortable with that situation. And given what else there is to be done, they've got a big decision to make about Alex Tuch. And Kekalainen yesterday sounded very cautious about that and very much like, give me a number when talking about Bowen Byram and a contract extension for him. You know, and it's different. These guys aren't going to the open market. They're still under contract. Byram's got another year still, and Benson is up, but he's an RFA. So there's a market if somebody wants to give him an offer sheet, but that very rarely happens. So.
Lines open for your calls. We've got Sal today at 4, then back to hockey with Paul and EJ Hradek later on. Frank is with us. Hello, Frank.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I'm an English teacher in a high school here in Western New York, and I proposed a question this week because we're having a tough time getting over this defeat with the Sabres. You know, I was thinking about the word suddenness, and I was asking my students the question, and a lot of them are athletes. Thinking of that game and the whole season and the whole storybook scenario, and then it ends in one shot and it's over. My question to them was, and they really reacted to it, and I want to know what you guys answer. The question is the suddenness in life and in sports worse than the defeat itself? Does the suddenness have more weight than the defeat itself? What do you think?
What do you think?
I think it does. I think you carry something in the suddenness that's bigger than the loss. And I'm not sure what it is, but they're two separate things. And the other day I heard you mention the word sudden, and it occurred in my mind that, you know, life does that. Sports really shows us directly what it's like. We saw it this week, but in life too. And I don't know how you separate the two, but I believe there's a separation.
I'm not here to tell you at all that you're not right about that, but I don't know how to really take the question yet. I don't know. I mean, is this sort of is there a comparison to death and, you know, someone dies suddenly and, I mean, there's a loss, but then there's also suddenness. I mean, I don't even know how I would write that essay.
Yeah. I mean, my mind goes to just thinking about Monday night. And through the first intermission, you know, the Sabres are down, and I'm feeling pretty bad. And you already said it. Like a third goal, Luukkonen is probably pulled. And, you know, Mark Messier's telling you if it's 3-0, this game's over. And I think you definitely feel a certain kind of way when a game goes that way, kind of like the last Sabres Game 7 in Philadelphia in 2011, where they're just it's never their night, and it's apparent almost right away. And that ends, and the result is the same. You lost Game 7. Your season is now over. But you've had maybe the hours watching the rest of the game that you never felt alive in to sort of process all of that. And when a game like that ends, I think it's a lot easier to go, we weren't good enough. They were way better than us, and we're done now. When you get a game that's in a series of games between two teams that are so close and you're into overtime, you're left with a lot of Thompson should have passed it to Benson. What if Dahlin throws it in the corner after the faceoff win that leads to eventually the new hook rush that is in the net? There's just a lot of when it's that close, and that becomes the thing that's hard to get over, I think, in a way, more than even the result. It's just like I had Brandon Cook should have, if he just held onto that ball a fraction of a second longer, that's a catch, and I'm kicking a field goal, and I'm playing the Patriots next week. And all that, that's what haunts you. So I don't know if I'm really taking the question the proper way, but it's like the best I can do is sort of the difference between getting your butt kicked and having a heartbreaking competitive loss. The heartbreaking competitive loss comes with bags of stuff that you can choose to dwell on and think about, whereas the butt kicking is just, I got to get some better guys.
Even sudden itself is relative. I mean, if it's 3-0 and you turn the channel off, like that Flyer game, I mean, it's still like one day you wake up and here comes the biggest hockey game of your life, and the next day it's over. That's sudden enough. I don't know. I appreciate this question. I like any question that makes you think, but I don't really know how to answer it. I do love an English teacher. Do you have a favorite English teacher in your life?
I do. Yes.
Was that him?
That was not him. Miss Camerata, 7th or 8th grade English at West Junior High. I loved her. She was great.
I got to go with
Miss
I
or Mrs. I don't
her.
remember if she was a Mrs. or a Miss, but Camerata was her last name.
I didn't have her as a teacher, so this is no slight on her by mentioning someone different.
Thank you.
I got to go with Marlo Beese.
All right.
AP English. First day. He's sick of me telling him this, I think, because I still know him. He's a kind of a neighbor. Like he said, here we are sitting there, first day of 12th grade English. He's like, there's two things you need to know. One, I don't care how you do in this class. That's not my problem. You get what you put into it. I'll do my best, but I don't care how you do.
All right.
Two, I have hundreds of stuffed animals that I firmly believe when I leave the house, every time I leave the house, they party and they get right back into position when I get back. Anyway, any questions? I love that guy. I still see him, and I love when I see him, and I hope he doesn't find out about this and is embarrassed, but it was all meant with love. My guy, Mr. Beast. Speaking of wrecking balls, which we kind of were, because you used the term earlier, take a wrecking ball to the goalies. Mm-hmm. They're really taking that stadium down.
Yeah, I guess so. We knew that, right? For some reason, in my head, I feel like there was a lot more, what are we going to do with it once the new place is open? But it's kind of going to be gone by the time.
They're at a pretty good pace, I think.
So I guess I never made enough note of when exactly that was going to begin. I mean, I knew they'd already gotten stuff out of there because I've seen the auctions about, the troughs and the different seats and whatever else might be available. But I guess I was a little surprised when I saw, walls crumbling.
Frank, the caller, if he wants metaphors for life, it's a lot easier to take a thing down than build it up. Building it up takes years. Mm-hmm. Taking it down takes days.
Yeah.
They're really taking that place down. Well, I knew they were, but yeah, pretty good. It's happening pretty fast. Are you still a Cam Ward guy?
I plan to be. Not really paying much attention now.
No.
But no, I like the coach hire for him.
Who was that again?
It's
Robert
Dayball.
Saleh and Dayball.
Dayball, yeah.
Both.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Dayball's going to coach the offense there. Saleh's the head coach.
Tennessee.
I I think I'm optimistic about that. I think there was a good player in there. I think they just were woefully inept from coach right on down.
The coach should never have gotten the job.
So I'm, I think I would want to bet on Cam Ward this year.
What does that mean?
That means if we're in our my only fantasy draft, and I'm not saying I'm going to take him as my first guy, but in a 2-quarterback league, I would consider him maybe a really good value at some point.
What about the team? Plus 340 to make the playoffs. AFC South plus 800 to win the AFC South. I like Jacksonville too much. I am going to play the heck out of Jacksonville. Houston is almost like an even money favorite to win the AFC South. I like Jacksonville a lot more. Plus 230, that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Is that crazy? It's Jacksonville. Tell me it's Jacksonville.
I don't know. Listen, you were sort of I felt like last year were pushing back more on. A lot of people, myself included, have sort of settled on they're the team in the AFC right now. When they took Denver apart late in the season, I thought it was the worst draw you could have had to get Jacksonville in that wild card game, and the Bills handled them, and I like that they took them out, but I'd be bullish on them too. I don't know. Houston was so dominant on defense, and that's all coming back, so there's every reason to think that they could do that again and will do that again, except for the old thing about defense not being as repeatable as offense. So
it's both teams.
And I'm kind of, I don't know, CJ Stroud, it's a huge year for him. There's every reason to wonder whether it was all just too quick to say, like, oh, look at how great he is. He had a great rookie year. It's been pretty uneven at best, I think, since.
Have the Bills played him? Davis Mills played the game in Houston last year, and that's week 1. Bills and Texans this year, week 1. Did they play?
Did he not play the game where Allen threw for 39 yards?
Which returns. Also on tomorrow's show, Sigmund Bloom, Adam Krautwurst, Davis Maddock, and Theo Greminger. I booked all of them. Why wait? Hockey's over. Let's just put them all in there. Let's go.
I'm going to book a 2:45 tea time.
Let's go.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Memorial Day weekend. Exit interviews.
And turned the Spurs and Thunder on, and then I just stayed there all night. And I didn't get back to the hockey until it was over.
You didn't watch Ken Burns?
I was not watching Ken Burns. I was watching live sports.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
You can do that.
I pay for that, and I don't watch it.
Yeah. No, it took me a while to find the basketball game. I mean, one, I'm old.
Is it Prime?
No, it was Peacock.
Oh, sure.
Which is like the last. I have not thought about the NBA on NBC, well, since I last watched a football game. Really, because that's the last time I saw a promo for the NBA being back on NBC. So I've never thought about it one time. So I'm through. I did go to Prime. I went to my HBO Max. So I'm thinking TNT, but wait, no, they're not in the basketball business anymore because, Kenny, Shaq, and Charles are over here on ESPN. It's all very confusing, but I eventually found it.
I thought you were going to go Kenny, Moose, and Goose there. Different.
Yeah, TNT.
Yeah, that's right. R.I.P. Goose.
Yes.
Sal Capaccio at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for listening. This is WGR. At Outlet Liquor, you can
same 3 goalies
Well,
last year.
I am eager to hear more about the rules on this because I hadn't heard about it anywhere else until yesterday that the league is going to mandate that teams have a third goalie who is on the roster but can't be somebody that's played. What did we learn yesterday? There were some sort of terms to this.
I don't think it's on the roster, but he's someone that you're going to be employing.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Garfalo, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
give Belknap a ring.
I don't even know what the point is.
Yeah.
Did the league have a problem? Were there all these games where you were talking yesterday, like you could think of 2 games where a team lost both goalies to injury. Like what is even the impetus for this? I don't know that yesterday that was ever clarified. I guess it wasn't the point of the press conferences.
Right.
But Ruff brought it up. Like, I don't know if you know. I thought the way he sounded like here comes a joke.
Right.
But it's not a joke. Like, well,
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but the league is going to make us have an emergency backup goalie next year. So, I mean, that might be fortuitous to the Sabres because they might have, we thought early in the season, they probably should have given up on the third goalie and just, come on, let's be real. Let's be a real team.
Mm-hmm.
What team has 3 goalies? And now maybe they're going to get away with it and actually be ahead of the curve.
Maybe a little bit of a trendsetter. Yeah, the biggest question I have about the how it's going to exactly work and what the rules are is if I choose to carry 3 because I like my guys and I want to have this other guy, I don't want to lose him, I want to develop him, and I want to have him available if one of the other guys can't play or whatever. And because it was notable to me that often, even though Lyon and Luukkonen were taking turns, they would get they didn't have to dress for the games they weren't playing. They were in a suit, sort of like a real night off. And maybe that's a little sneaky good part of this for them, like mentally anyway, and maybe to an extent physically too. But if I've got 3, do I then have to travel around with a 4th guy who's some former college
Sal Capaccio coming up, top of the hour, about 12 minutes. Paul Hamilton, EJ Hradek, one more time from NHL Network later today. The World Cup is around the corner. Lots more stories about there being tens of thousands of available tickets that were probably insanely overpriced in the first place. But we're less than a month away. Underdog, where I do a lot of my best ball drafting, underdogfantasy.com, has other sports too. And they're like in football, their tournaments are all usually, except for Best Ball Mania, I think they're all named after dogs because it's underdog.
Okay.
So the Pug, the Hound Dog, the Rottweiler 4. You get the drift?
No, I need you to say like 3 or 4 more dog breeds.
The Chihuahua, the Golden, the Lipso Opso.
All right already.
So they have a World Cup a tournament. You know what it's called? You can get this. I mean, it'd be amazing to get it on the first try. I think this is a bracket contest.
The boxer.
The World Pup.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not a dog.
No,
breed,
that's right.
Yeah, you misled me, but yeah. Okay.
I could have kept naming dogs. The French Bulldog. The British Bulldog. Well, that's a wrestler. Or is that also a dog?
I think so.
The Pomeranian. Pistachio nut. Pine nut. Cashew nut. The World Pup. I think I'll enter. I don't know anything.
Good luck. Yeah,
I'll be dead money.
Yeah.
I'm just who that is meant for. Somebody's here's $10. I'm in. Fine. Tell me what I won. Sal Capaccio after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres wrapped up locker room cleanout yesterday, finishing up with head coach Lindy Ruff and general manager Jarmo Kekalainen both speaking with the media. If you missed any of that, you can find both press conferences up at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. We'll get more on what was said yesterday. Stay tuned in just about an hour. Paul Hamilton will join the show. And then staying with the NHL, we do have Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final tonight. Montreal at Carolina. Puck drop just after 8 p.m., and this will be Carolina's first game since May 9th. To the NFL, the Detroit Lions have locked up linebacker Jack Campbell to a 4-year deal, though at this point no word yet on the money attached to that contract, but Campbell himself did officially confirm that the deal was done. Do stay tuned. Coming up next, Sal Capaccio will join the show. We'll get a little bit more on the NFL and the Bills. While over in baseball, Bisons are in action tonight. They're on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch is at 6:35. While in the majors, the Mets are at the Nationals. That's starting here in just the next couple of minutes. And the Yankees, they host Toronto at 7:05. While in basketball, we've got Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. The Knicks host the Cavs. Game time is at 8, and New York does have a 1-0 series lead. And catch every take, every reaction, and every big Buffalo sports moment live now on YouTube with Jeremy and Joe in the morning and Schopp and the Bulldog in the afternoon. Watch your favorite WGR hosts anytime, anywhere, live on air, or live on YouTube. It's brought to you by Belknap Heating and Cooling. For more comfort and less ka-ching, give Belknap a ring. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Through this clip, hearing that section of that skit once a week or whatever we do, I love Kevin Nealon in that. Hey, get out of here with that. Like, it's righteous indignation, a little bit of an ad lib probably. Were you a Kevin Nealon guy?
Still am.
Still am.
Good.
Good.
I follow him on Twitter.
Is he interesting? Funny?
He posts long, dark jokes.
Okay. I think I'm in.
Like, I
you got me.
I can't quote it right now, but like recently there was a very long one about something with his son, and like it's delicate and it sounds really emotional, and then like he ends the thought, and then the next sentence is, "What is his name?"
Okay. I think I'm in. Glad we had this conversation.
Works for me.
With us now on the West Her Hotline is Sal Capaccio. Today is Josh Allen's birthday, 30. I saw that he's made, this probably will come as no surprise, much more money than any other football player in history by the age of 30, before reaching 30. Mahomes is already 30. So happy birthday to Josh Allen. One question I had about him for when we were going to talk to Sal again, and now we're going to do that, is for whatever reason, his age, new head coach, I don't know, you guys have any reason to think, starting with Sal, you have any reason to think, as we talk about maybe every year just to get it in, like how he's used is going to be any different? I mean, are we yet to the day that probably eventually will come where they try to scale him back, and they've done that in certain ways the last couple of years? I don't know. Sal, what does all that sound like to you?
Yeah, I think they've tried to do that a little bit here and there, but really at the end of the day, I think it's just too tough. And Brandon Beane has alluded to this, and I agree, which is Josh is going to be his own guy. And it's just the way he's wired is what he's going to do. We don't see all these design runs all the time. Maybe early in his career we saw more, but that went away maybe a few years ago. Only in select games we'll see, okay, like they had a game plan to do that. But you'll see it once in a while still. You'll see a third down and critical run. They did it against Jacksonville, right, a couple of times I remember. In the playoff game, and then you have the quarterback sneaks that play a part of it. I think overall, though, the scrambling, deciding to take off, that's on Josh. That's just not going away. No matter what you really kind of try to do there, I just don't think you're going to have any success if you're telling him not to do that specifically.
Yeah, and I think maybe to a certain extent, his play, his ability to scramble effectively will maybe give them clues about when they should definitively, if they ever will, sort of scale back the designed runs, right? I mean, just a guy gets to be whatever. I'm not talking about necessarily this season at all here, but, another 5 years down the road, you're seeing him less effective as a runner and a scrambler. You're just logically going, okay, well, this isn't going to help me as much. So there's no point in just continuing to try to hammer into the same hole here. He can't really do that anymore. But I don't think we're there yet. I felt like, Sal, it could have been coincidence or circumstantial that there were multiple times this year where he went for what looked like an opening right around the line of scrimmage, and it shut on him faster than he was used to. Now, that could just be better defending, or that could be, it's just a fraction slower than it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Eventually that is going to really slow down, and maybe it already has started subtly, and we just don't really know it yet.
It's a good question and a good point. And, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of that there, that maybe it's a little tick different, slower. But, man, he doesn't appear to be, right? And I would say that there's definitely more game planning to understand those escape lanes for him. Josh has never really been, I shouldn't say never been, majority of a lot of the scrambles have been that way, in that regard. He finds an opening in between the tackles, and he's going to take off, and he's going to run straight, and he's really big, and he just does that. It's maybe a little bit different than when Lamar Jackson runs, and he runs around the edge. And yes, they'll have some design plays. So I'm guessing teams try to do a better job there of containing him. But sure, maybe if we see that happen again more and more this year, we think, okay, is there something there that we can glean from this? Now, if you take a look at his just basic stats in rushing, right? I mean, there's a lot that gets baked into this. We know that. I mean, the last 3 years have all been about the same. 111 attempts, 102 attempts, back to 112 last year. He actually had more attempts last year than the previous 2 years, just by one, though. But if you go back to the 2 years previous, it's over 120 each year. So there was a time where he was definitely being used more, and the numbers reflect it. Over 760 yards rushing 2 straight years. He's failed to get to 600, but he's still in the 500-plus range, which is pretty incredible for a quarterback, to be honest.
That's right.
And it really just has to start with the touchdowns. It's, I think, my favorite Bill stat to track, and has been. I mean, he has, including playoffs, think about this number. In the last 3 seasons, he has rushed for 48 touchdowns.
That's incredible.
Including playoffs. That's more than, like, Dalvin Cook's career.
That's absurd. Is what that is. That is absurd.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
If he keeps that pace up for one more season, he'll have had more rushing touchdowns in the last 4 years, like post-COVID, than OJ ever had. He's already...
That's incredible.
Isn't it? He's already 18 past OJ's career number, in total. But he showed up, and he was rushing for 8-9 touchdowns. I'm like, come on, this is not sustainable. And he's just, like, doubled it almost the last 3 years. So really amazing. Yeah, the goal line, you guys have said it. They maybe have wanted to rein him in some, but then the games get important, and it's on.
Right.
And so you have that. And then, of course, these goal line plays where this is what we're doing. I'm going. If I'm a split second later on 3rd and 5 at the 50 because of whatever reason, maybe it's just there's a part of, like, this is Lamar Jackson, I think. There's a part of it where you could have, I'm going to break ties trying to find something downfield here instead of just, doing what my instinct is to just run for the first down, avoid the hit that way,
get down to the 2-yard line. Get on the horse, buddy.
That's right. And, I mean, I'm thinking of that Jacksonville game, Sal, and I think, Trevor Lawrence did rush for 8 or 9 touchdowns last year himself. But in that game, there were a couple of moments where, like, all right, buddy.
Yeah, he didn't have it.
You got to go.
There was that third down where he went down early. Yeah.
That's right. Was that
fourth down even? Yeah.
4th down inside the 5, and he sort of slipped or whatever that. Yes. So Allen is not unique, but very special in that area. So we'll see what we get. He turns 30 today. Sal Capaccio with us. One thing on the schedule we haven't gotten to with you, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I know in the morning you also were doing that, the opener. We've talked about Detroit on a Thursday night to open the stadium in week 2, but not drawing the Texans in week 1. What do you think of that?
Drawing the Texans week 1, I'm sorry. Yeah. What was the first part of that?
That's the question. Just what do you think of opening in Houston?
Oh, what do I think of the opener overall? I'm sorry. Well, there was always a possibility, we talked about this a lot, that the home opener would be week 2. That happened, whether you'd like the Thursday night or not. It was always a possibility to me it would be a week 2 game, and they would open week 1 on the road. Then you look at their road schedule, and, I guess I always lean towards division no matter what, even in the home opener. But if you look at, the outside division teams, there's just a bunch of, really important games and good teams. And it didn't matter who you put there. You're going to have probably a pretty sexy opener if it's not the Jets or the Dolphins, to be quite honest with you. So I think the Texans are a very, very highly rated type of game for the NFL, for the Bills to start there. I think I go right to what has happened there over the last few years. Every time they've played there, it seems like, with Josh Allen at quarterback. And, oh, my God, you got to go there, this place, this house of horrors that you're going to start out 0-1 maybe. But I also think if you look back at the Texans' history, they have been a team that seems to get better as the season goes on. They have some changes at offensive line again this year. Deshaun Watson, excuse me. I've got him in the brain. I saw something about him with the Browns, and of course he used to be in Houston. CJ Stroud was not at his best as the season ended last year. I think there's a lot of questions about him this offseason right now in Houston. So I think it's a really intriguing game from that standpoint. Look, they have a really good defense. We know that. That, to me, has been the biggest critical issue and area why the Bills, last year specifically struggled, but maybe in some other games. And that's going to be a challenge again. But I think from an overall standpoint of when you get that team, it's probably better to get them week 1 than it might be week 7 or 8.
Last year was really about Allen being under siege, and it's not to say that he wasn't under duress the year before, but it wasn't, to me, as I recall it. I don't think the sack numbers would back this up or how I remember the game. Allen had a terrible day just getting the ball out anywhere. Right? Didn't he 9 of 23 or something? Like the numbers were ghastly.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
9 of 30.
2 years ago.
Right. Okay.
I think that a lot of the issue we talked about was were the receivers.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And there was that situation towards the end of the game with the 3 different plays and all that, how it went down, the clock management that people debated. Right. I mean, that was a big deal, but I feel like it was more on the conversation of receivers. Not that Josh didn't have any blame, of course, but I thought last year was more about the offensive line than it was about the receivers and for him being under siege when those things happened.
Yep.
9 of 30 for 131, one of his worst games ever, at least by numbers. Nobody caught more than 2 passes in that game. So that's the opener, Bills at Texans. You were away last week, but I was kind of thinking Minnesota for that game. I thought that would be kind of cool, but in the end, I mean, it's just a guess. Receivers.
On a personal note, by the way, I'll say I was hoping for Houston later in the year because warmer weather cities in September are not as fun as warmer weather cities in November, December.
Right.
Seems reasonable. There's been a lot of tight end talk league-wide lately. Teams, to varying degrees, seemingly showing interest in running 2 or 3 tight end sets, or what they'd call 12 or 13 personnel. The Rams leaning into the position. And the Bills, for a couple of years, have been interesting in this area. And there's there's always here we're back, they're back at practice and you're out there and, is Dalton Kincaid bigger? And here we're having that conversation again. There's always a conversation happening about his production. And what about it? Like, is it because of whatever reason? Is he not as good as we want, or just whatever it is? And I think every time I've heard these conversations and read a couple of threads, and I think for me, Sal, there's just like one takeaway, which is he's capped by Knox. He's capped by the fact that they have another tight end that makes a lot of money, that plays with his hand down, and Kincaid really doesn't. Like, you can't – we've had this conversation for years now, I think, that Kincaid doesn't offer them, or they think anyway, by how they've used him, doesn't offer them that kind of ability to play, if you will, a full-time role.
In line, right.
At the position. So he's not a gadget, but he's not somebody who can compete with the tight ends around the league that don't have that competition internally, I think. So route running, all the yards per route, all those kind of stats as a pass catcher, he does fine. But I don't know, is there a reason to think this year will be different in how they use him? Is that maybe related to his health or scheme or what?
It's really interesting how you've kind of phrased that, and I'm thinking about there's 2 different comparisons here and 2 different relationships you're talking about. There's the relationship to the rest of the tight ends in the league who are really the top at their position, as you talk about. And then there's a relationship to within his own room. And I would say from what Joe Brady has said, even just on Tuesday when we heard from Joe Brady, which is, Dalton, they feel he can block. Like, they have no problem asking him to do that. But why do it? When you have, what he said was, essentially, I think I'm paraphrasing here, what Joe Brady said was, we don't need to ask him to go, dig out defensive linemen or defensive ends when you have Jackson Hawes who can do that. We're not asking him to do that. But at the same time, he's a willing blocker. He was actually pretty good at it last year when, especially early in the year, you guys remember there's some clips of like, man, he really got pretty good at this. But why have him do that and put that wear and tear on his body when you have Dawson Knox, when you have Jackson Hawes? And while that is a negative for him to be on the field, it's what the Bills want. It's what any team would want, I would think, because you're taking like a player that you can kind of keep all those miles and that wear and tear off his body. But sure, now you're also kind of making him into a role where he's not the same full-time as the guys who are always on the field doing all of those things and putting up numbers. So it's really interesting. I don't think that's going to change, Mike. I do think a lot of it is the health, though. I mean, that's been the talk, the health. And he missed 4 games 2 years ago. He missed 5 games last year. Despite missing the 5 games last year, I went and looked at the numbers and kind of put this in my State of the Bills tight end article before I left, which is pretty interesting. I didn't realize how good he was. So he averaged close to 48 yards a game. It doesn't sound like a lot. That's 10th most tight end in the league when he played. Now, some of those games he didn't play that much. Like he might have had a lighter workload. So he actually still, and despite that, 10th most in the league. He was second in the league at his position with 14.6 yards per reception, which, oh, by the way, is exactly what we were told last year he was going to do. He was going to go down the field, be a field stretcher, more yards per catch, I should say, and that's exactly what happened. And then the newer stat that people talk about, 2.76 yards per route run, number 1 in the league at that. And if I'm looking at that as a coach going, I don't want to go away from that. I love that stuff. Why do I need to have him go blocking people and worry about his health when I can have him do those things?
Right. What I would want is to have him do all of those things that he's good at more often, which to me circles back either to Mike's point that they want a different guy with a different skill set and don't want Kincaid doing that, or they simply are trying to protect him, and I end up at, what limits him more than Knox to me is his own health. I feel like if he were someone they didn't worry about taxing workload-wise, that he might see the field more than Knox, but they know they can't, so the blocking, or at least they sent, their sense is we got to be careful, right? Pitch count, load management, all that sort of stuff. And if that were out the window completely, I'd love to see what happens. Like what kind of snap count does he end up at, and is it more of a even split? Because I think his value is far greater than Knox's, despite Knox's versatility and his all-around play. What's the most valuable thing you can have is a guy that can do what Kincaid can do: beat the defender, get open, and make plays down the field. And I think if he's someone I trust physically, then he's playing 60% of my tight end snaps.
I wonder if he was fully healthy and there weren't any concerns like this, what they would have done with Dawson Knox in the offseason. Like how much of that was related to, let's just make sure we have Dawson Knox, and was, making sure you re-signed him. How much of that was Dalton's health? Now, you guys know, I'll tell you too, I still think they wanted Dawson Knox in this team no matter what. What he means, 2 years ago after the season when Sean McDermott, and I know he's not here anymore, when McDermott was, asked, is there anybody on the team that, you really, stood out to you for some reason? Like he specifically mentioned right away Dawson Knox and what he meant to the locker room, what he means to the team, everything he brings to the table for this team. And I just think they've identified him as a core guy, that they didn't want to lose him. So I think they would have wanted to keep him, but maybe it became more pressing to make sure you keep him based on that. Now, that said, they also gave Dalton Kincaid the 5th-year option. They extended him in that regard, which is he's here for 2 more years. It's a good number, though. It's not astronomical. It's $8 million. That's a really nice number to have Dalton Kincaid. If he can stay healthy and on the field, you're getting him at a really nice rate in a couple of years for his 5th-year option. But I do wonder about those two things. So according to the way I read Brady, and what he says, and then you get to Dalton Kincaid and what he says, which is he said, the proof is he doesn't have a sleeve or a brace, so I'm going to trust when he says, I feel the best I have, feel really good in the knee. The reason he didn't have surgery, he said, he consulted all these doctors around the league, other doctors. They recommended don't have surgery, just strengthen the knee. Here's how you strengthen it. I feel like he will do more of those things. I just don't think we're going to be seeing him on the field like you see. I don't know, Mike. I don't know the numbers on George Kittle per se, right? But guys like that who can kind of do all those things we're talking about.
It's always made for a really interesting, difficult analysis, like just sort of the value of the pick of Kincaid. Knox was what he meant to the core of the Bills before they made that pick, and maybe that's still true. I'm thinking of a John Harbaugh comment to this point about, why wouldn't you want Kincaid to play the role that he's best at? One time last year, Harbaugh was asked about Keaton Mitchell, one of his running backs, and he has Derrick Henry. And Harbaugh basically said, well, it's kind of a giveaway when we put him on the field, what we're going to do or not do. I'm like, well, isn't that the point of good coaching, though? Like that you should be able, if you have Kincaid playing with his hand down and he has to block a little bit more than he's done, but it comes at the expense of Knox snaps, I'm not sure that's bad. I think, you want to, football is always trying to deceive you too. So I know we're generalizing here, but I don't know.
Well, it's not bad until he misses a block and someone gets hurt, and then all of a sudden the coach has to answer questions in postgame of why he did it.
From you.
Right.
So look out. All right.
Well, so what else is shaking there, Sal? I feel like we sort of lost touch after rookie minicamp.
Yeah.
Is Jermaine Burton still around?
No, they did not sign him to a contract. Now he hasn't signed anywhere, to my knowledge, so that could still happen at some point, but they did not elect to sign him after rookie minicamp.
Okay. That's probably not a good sign then for him anyway. I mean, fine for the Bills.
Jeez, that
guy. My focus was on really a lot of the injured guys, and I just was super encouraged from what I saw from Michael Hoyt and what he was doing on the side and already out there. And I mean, I walk out there, he's with a medicine ball doing explosions. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, wow, this guy is just an animal. He was out there doing that. Josh Palmer was actually doing rehab off to the side as well. He's an interesting guy in that wide receiver room. I think a lot of the headlines were Keon Coleman, what he said after practice, things that, he talked about from last year. And then, of course, Landon Jackson and his role getting bigger, him and Dwayne Carter coming back, what that looks like. Terrell Bernard talked a lot about what really kind of the injuries really, physically and mentally really did a lot to him last year. And he's looking forward to a restart this year, so to speak.
Shakir had a thing. Also, ankle?
He did, yes, he did. Thank you. And but he's been out there doing everything and doesn't look like he has any, from my eyes, any limitations on anything that they have him doing right now.
Dawkins?
Dawkins was, in a boot a while ago in a picture, but we didn't see him. He wasn't on the field. He wasn't at OTAs. I don't think it's anything serious from indications, we've had from other kind of things happening. But obviously it's something to take a look at the next time we're out there. If he is there, he missed. James Cook wasn't there. Dorian Williams wasn't there. Christian Benford wasn't there. There were a handful of guys that we did not see. Now that's just for one day. Who knows? Maybe they were there today when they do stuff. We only get one day a week.
You mentioned the guys that have bulked up here. Jackson and Carter, two defensive linemen who have barely registered at all. More so Jackson. I mean, his rookie season was a wash. Carter got in some games in his rookie year, but that got undone, and last year was lost. Is this like a dart throw, or do you think, like, what percentage chance would you put on either one of those guys becoming important contributors on this defensive line?
Landon Jackson and Dwayne Carter specifically?
Yeah.
I think Carter is facing more of an uphill battle to actually be on the roster. A guy you talked a lot about last year with this Bulldog, right? But I'm going to say about Jackson what I said about Carter last year. I just can't see them moving off in Jackson's case, a third-round pick a year later. It would really be surprising to me. I know it's a new defensive system and scheme, but I just don't feel, that Brandon Beane would want to divest himself that early. Carter's in a different situation. It is his third year, and he missed all of his second year.
Right.
And there's a logjam at that position. Now, what's going to help Dwayne Carter is he actually can play, from what they say, the nose tackle position if they really want to have somebody there to play more of the true nose. And you might need somebody to do that on this team. And he did get bigger. You don't see it as much on him that you do on Landon Jackson. He's already a big guy in that regard. But really, TJ Sanders doesn't play that spot. Ed Oliver doesn't play that spot. You can put Deion Walker there, but I don't know if that's the best use of him. But Dwayne Carter can play that spot, so that could help him. As far as Landon Jackson, he told us he's going to play the 4-eye technique. I want to explain what that is to everybody. 4-eye means 4 inside. So when you say a 4 technique, that's head up on the tackle. A 4 inside, 4-eye means inside eye of the tackle. So you see the inside shoulder or of the offensive tackle.
Right.
That means there's still a guy outside of him in a 5-man front, right? There's a guy outside him as an edge rusher. He is not going to be asked to do that. He's going to be asked to basically hold his ground, maybe penetrate once in a while, but get down the line and make plays. And that's going to be his role. And I think that, I mean, it would be surprising to me, like I said, if he's not at least on the field as a member of the Buffalo Bills and them trying to see that work.
Very good. Nice to talk to you as always. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
It's our Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Stayed away from the Yankees today.
You mean gambling-wise? Or
No,
just
talking about them with Sal.
Oh, with Sal. Oh, I see. Okay.
They have Toronto again.
Yeah.
I like it to be friendly. I don't like it when they're beating Toronto, which the game's tonight. They're 2-1 in the series. Toronto won last night, which you didn't see because it was rain delayed. It was late. You were busy watching the Thunder.
I'm going to call it watching the Spurs.
Okay.
But
the Spur.
The Spur. I crushed on the Thunder last year, and there's still plenty to like there, but Wembanyama is just such an intriguing guy to watch play that the Spurs are what drew me in there. So I'm going to try to stay with that.
It's crazy, that guy.
Yeah.
He's so tall.
Yeah. And
and good.
It doesn't even really look right. Like it's like, wait, he's good? He's just so gangly and kind of awkward looking, but he's awesome, which makes the whole thing just very intriguing to watch.
Do you have a big idea for the Sabres this summer? As sadly the off season is here. 803-0550 if you do. Spend a lot of the rest of the show on them. Paul Hamilton, EJ Hradek still to come. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Summer often means your driveway becomes
care about, and I think a couple of parts of this are interesting to me, it's still so fresh. We just had press conferences yesterday and the day before. Broad thoughts on what they should be doing this summer, what they should be going for. Players, positions, concepts, like what, if you're in, are they having these meetings today? Does it take the weekend first, holiday weekend? You come back next week, and I mean the draft is a month from tomorrow, I believe. It's not like there's a whole big break right here for organizations. I think that's interesting. And then after that, I was thinking about like how much longer will we really have the Sabres that we want to talk about, in the sense that we want to talk about them. You know, that off-season moves are going to be afoot, and the draft is in Buffalo for what it's worth. But we always, even when they were good, it's so long ago, but even then, you get to the point in the summer where everybody does go on vacation and hockey kind of stops. I don't think it's stopped right now. I think, you had the coach and GM yesterday talking about their thoughts, their reflections, their vision. And you had Kekalainen said a few pretty straightforward things about how he looks at Byram, Benson, Tuck. You got takes from him.
Yeah.
So it's still, to me, time. It's still the right time to bounce ideas around, like we were in that room. What would we do with Alex Tuck? What would we do with these possible contract extensions? Do we want to go get a goalie? Do we want to trade a good defenseman for a good forward? These kinds of ideas. But they will, at some point, maybe by next week even, will kind of have moved on, even though a lot of that the stuff that could happen.
Well, there'll be like a pause in it, really, because it's not going to be while these games are going on, whether you're watching or not. Like there's games still. There's still 2 more rounds of the playoffs. We're only halfway through, and so movement. There may be reports about the Sabres are this close to this or that with Benson or Byram or Tuck even. Well, there may not be. There's usually not a lot of news. I feel like the news breakers sort of cooperate with the league and don't break a lot of news during when, especially once the final starts. So it'll be quiet for a little while, I think. That won't stop us from having the conversation you're suggesting will be had. But as far as like nuggets and stuff go, I don't know that there'll be a lot of that until we get clear of the games, and then it will be fast. Then the draft will be here, and then bam, bam, there's free agency, and then by mid-July, okay, anything else? Are we all done here? My team on the floor, kind of. I felt like there were enough juicy bits between like clues, not things that have to be irrefutably going to happen the way that it sounded yesterday. But like, for one thing, I thought both Kekalainen and Ruff sounded sort of eager to run the goaltending back from last year. All 3 guys are under contract. Lindy talked about how it worked and brought up this new rule that's coming in with about an emergency backup that every team's going to have and whatever. And I'm still not anywhere. I tried to get some clarity on like how that works if you've got 3 guys like the Sabres did almost all year versus a team that only has 2. Like, do I have to use an e-bug if I get to a 3rd guy? Whereas this year they were getting dressed and ready to go in if needed. I don't know. So, but that can wait. Like, the mechanics of how that's going to work doesn't really matter right now. The point is, Ruff sounded like, I got my 3 goalies to me yesterday, and I think Kekalainen to an extent sounded that way too. That doesn't mean somebody can't come in with a, hey, do you want to give up this, and this for that guy? Trade, and like that just blows that out of the water. But right now, I bet that they run back the same 3 goalies as last year.
I am eager to hear more about the rules on this, because I hadn't heard about it anywhere else until yesterday. That the league is going to mandate that teams have a 3rd goalie who is on the roster, but can't be somebody that's played. What did we learn yesterday? There were some sort of terms to this.
I don't think it's on the roster.
Are on to the offseason following completion of locker cleanout yesterday. Head coach Lindy Ruff and general manager Jarmo Kekalainen both spoke with the media yesterday afternoon. If you missed any of that, you can find both press conferences up at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. We'll get more on what we heard yesterday, as coming up in just about a half hour, Paul Hamilton will join the show. But sticking with the NHL, the playoffs do roll along here. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final is tonight. Montreal at Canada. Puck drop is just a little after 8 p.m. And at least for Carolina, this is going to be their first game since May 9th. The Bisons are in action tonight. They're on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch for that game is at 6:35. You can listen to that on our sister station, the Bet 1520. While in basketball, we've got Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. Knicks host the Cavs. Game time is at 8, and New York does lead that series 1-0. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
We've talked about it all season long when these questions arise, that he's been an important part of our success. He's always getting some of the most ice time for any of the forwards. Killing penalties, playing power play, he's a consistent goal scorer. He's a valuable part of our team. But just like I've told him and I tell everybody in the same situation, we make our decisions based on how can we make our team better. And we have to come to an agreement that this is the type of contract that we can still make our team better, and hopefully we can do that.
Yesterday, Jarmo Kekalainen, Sabres GM, talking about Alex Tuch, where to go from here. Who knows? Could go either way.
My sense, hearing Kekalainen talk, and Tuch, who also spoke yesterday, my guess right now, the information that we have at our disposal is that Tuch is, if he's going to be on the Sabres, he's going to have to swallow hard and leave, I think, a considerable amount of money on the table. That's how Kekalainen sounds to me. Far from like where we were, like last offseason with him, which was like, hey, whatever you got to do, blank check. We need, and even during the year before they really got hot. And then, everybody's mostly had fun the rest of the season. Every time he did something good, it was like the price tag went up. There was like eventually the contract when he got to like 15 a year, whatever, just do it. I just don't, they do not sound, Kekalainen does not sound like someone who's going to buy the idea of, if we get 3 good years out of it, that's fine. Like, that doesn't sound like how, that clip we just played does not sound like that at all to me.
And he did sound effusive about other players yesterday, too. So it wasn't like it would just never be how he sounds.
Right. Byram and Benson both, he sounded very eager to get at the table and start write some big numbers down. And those are different situations. Neither of those players are about to be exposed to the open market. Tuch is. So there's a different kind of pressure there, knowing that he's about to, get the opportunity to get, some incredible contract from some other team.
Let's go to Bob here. Hi, Bob.
How are you doing, guys?
Good.
My big idea for the offseason is to kind of sit tight. I don't think this is an offseason where you're going to push all the chips in the middle of the table. I would let Alex Tuch walk, and I would kind of refocus. I would take that money and I'd lock up Benson to a long-term deal. I would lock up Bo Byram to a long-term deal. Start from the back end, fill out the rest of the roster. Maybe you can bring back a Beck Malenstein. That shouldn't cost a lot of money. And I would really just let the kids play, let the kids develop. I think next offseason we could talk about a Robert Thomas and making that kind of a move. But I think right now you've got some young kids that you're still developing, and I think they're ready to – I think you can get back in the playoffs with what you have right now without making any moves. And I'll hang up.
I don't know that you're wrong, but I consider it a big risk for a cup contending team to let a leader, a veteran guy, a consistent point producer, and one of the best defensive forwards in the league. I mean, I know he doesn't have Selke nominations lining his walls, but he's been excellent for them. Both ways, key penalty killer, takeaways. He's very good. He's very dependable. So you take him out, which there's a case to be made. I mean, I'm reluctant to just give him $11 million a year for 8 years. Like that's might be insane to do that. But if you just let that happen, choose that's your path. You don't want to get burdened with that big contract and regret it too soon. Then okay, keep everyone here. And I don't know, how did I get better? Like, the idea to me is to improve on what they had. And if goaltending isn't going to be, and, we're very early here, okay? But my initial reads are they're going to probably stand pat and goal. My initial read is, if I had to tell you right now, Tuch's gone. Just thinking all the kids, I feel like this organization has gotten in big trouble in previous years counting on production from guys who have not proven it yet. And yes, I'm really excited about Helen Hughes and Ostlund. I think they looked incredible. They played like 3 playoff games between them. I mean, what are we doing here? I got to have more than just that, I think, to supplement my team if I let Alex Tuch go. I'm not assuming they have a replacement in-house to just take over as capably all the different hats he wore for them. It's possible that Josh Doan can do it, but I don't know. I haven't seen him kill penalties in the NHL yet. So I don't know that it'd be great if that were a plug and play and that'll work. And maybe it will. But, boy, I think you're just leaving yourself in danger of being short if you count on too many kids. Like, Benson was a rock star in these playoffs. He still has scored like 40 points in the regular season. He's not really yet gotten to a place where you can count on him to be even a 60-point guy.
Well, what's a good GM? Signing Alex Tuch to the most money isn't really, that's not that much skill. Owner says go for it. GM asks the player, what do you want here? There's no real skill in that. You want, and this is not just Kekalainen, this by extension is other people who work under him, but you want to find somebody for less that's younger, that isn't 20, but maybe halfway between 20 and Tuch, that you think you've identified traits. You can imagine him in a certain role. It could even be two players, but somebody out there where you see value that the next guy doesn't. And I don't think really, not that this is the name of the game. I mean, the game isn't just sort of being, it's not a video game where the game is to be the best GM possible. You're trying to build the best team, but he's got a pretty good head start right now, Kekalainen. And if he can save money off of Tuch, avoid the ditch that is inevitable if you're signing him to the big contract, and find a player like they kind of did with Doan, which is, that's Adam's work, but something like that, then I think that's where you get an A+. Go be the Milwaukee Brewers. Go find somebody that somebody else doesn't recognize their value and you do. That's what the best GMs in sports are capable of. And so I don't know who that player is. I'm not him.
Right. No, it's a very good point about the two-player part there, Mike, because I think, everything that Tuch does, it might be very hard to find that in one guy, especially on the free agent market. That guy doesn't. Tuch is that guy. There's not another Tuch. It's one of the reasons why his value is expected, even with a down second series, to be so high. But can you find a good, dependable defensive forward that deserves to be in your lineup that can take his penalty killing and defensive stuff off the plate, and then hope find another scorer, do something else? I'm very much not in the mindset of the caller. There's like no big moves are called for. I respect the fact that I trust that Robert Thomas was on their radar big time leading up to the trade deadline. And if they want to pick that back up, like if they can find, you want to hear it? I stumbled into it. My big idea, it's probably going to be pretty popular. Find a way. You're going to have to pay to do it. Find a way to replace Josh Norris's salary on your payroll with Robert Thomas's. They're very comparable players. The money's very comparable. One guy plays. The other guy misses half the season. If I got to worry about like what I'm going to do with Tuch's money, maybe it's a whole different conversation. But if I'm trying to improve this team, like if I had any confidence, I don't have none, but I'm not super confident that Josh Norris is going to play 70 games for me ever. If I were, he'd be great. But Thomas is the 70 or really 82 game version of Josh Norris. I'm probably going to have to give up picks and a prospect to make that happen. Like if they're even thinking about divesting themselves of Norris, I think they should be. The thing that flies in the face of that is that around the deadline, there were reports that the thing that stopped, there were a few different ones, but the thing that stopped that trade was the Sabres not wanting to trade Norris, which would have been really weird to me. It's just never made sense. Like 1 for 1, I would do that all the time and expect to actually pay extra to do it. And so I never really understood that reporting. As I say, it's not true, but if it is, it doesn't make sense to me.
Paul Hamilton coming up in about 20 minutes. EJ Hradek later. We'll look for your calls again after a short break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Callers 5 and 6 right now at 716-221-4WGR. That's 4947. Each win a pair of tickets to see Hardy at Darien Lake Amphitheater next Friday, courtesy of Live Nation, May 29th. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Will you be there?
Not on that date, but I am going to it. It's rare for me. I don't go to shows there that often, but I'm going there Wednesday, June 10th.
Not far off.
Yeah. Tyler Childers is playing there.
Oh, I was going to guess.
Got a bunch of us. We're going. Yeah, so it's going to be a whole day. So it should be fun. I don't know about the park, but I mean, like, whatever.
Water slides?
No, that's what I mean. I don't think that's happening, but we've hitched a ride on some.
What about that game area where you can win like a big stuffed animal?
I'm getting on Uncle Ben's Remedies tour bus with my family to go to this show. That's what I'm doing. So I don't know that we're going to the water slides, but it's
the Viper. What about the Viper?
It's going to be an outing, is what it's going to be.
What about the Viper?
Again, don't know.
Did you see the clip from Six Flags the other day where the roller coaster stalled at the top and they couldn't fix it, and people had to walk down the stairs to get down? Can you imagine?
No, I'm terrified sitting here, hearing about it.
Oh, don't watch it.
No.
I mean, they all did it.
Oh.
I know. Imagine that moment.
No.
Guys, we're going to need you to get out, okay? We're at the top. We're at the top of Space Mountain here. We're going to need you to get out and climb down the stairs to the ground.
Oh, yeah, no.
Wow. Yeah, that happened. Jordan is next. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Nothing can strike fear into your heart worse than being at the top of a dang roller coaster and having to exit your seat to walk down. That's insane. Gentlemen, my question is about goalie. I know you talked about it earlier. I got on late because of work, but I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Mm-hmm. Given that Lyon and UPL did pretty dang well for us over the regular season, if we were to wipe out Game 2 for UPL against Boston and Game 6 for Lyon, how much does that change the conversation going forward about whether or not we should roll with those guys? Thanks for your time.
Why would you want to do that, though? Well, okay, he's gone. Why would you want to eliminate the bad games? But what analysis should do that?
I think the point the caller is going for, I'm guessing because he disappeared there, is are we? I sort of touched on this at the beginning. Are we going to overreact to a couple of bad performances in the playoffs when for 82 games the rotation and their performances were excellent? They both had very good years.
Mostly.
Yeah. So are you going to take those outings as proof they can't do it in the playoffs? They're flawed. I need something better. I think the trap you can fall into in thinking that way is to just exchange them for similarly capable goalies that I think they might be better. They could have a better year, but I don't know. I think you're just throwing darts. So I think unless you want to do something really big in goal, Shesterkin, Bobrovsky is a free agent. I don't think you do anything. Because I think they were good.
I just don't find picking the bad games out to be useful at all. I mean, they did happen. You'd want to consider that when you analyze this and not just pretend that they didn't. So I don't know why I'd want to do that. Paul Hamilton coming up after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres are on to the offseason as they completed locker cleanout yesterday. Head coach Lindy Ruff and general manager Jarmo Kekalainen did both speak with the media. If you missed any of both those press conferences, you can find them up at our website, WGR550.com, or on the Odyssey app. Our own Paul Hamilton also has more at our website, and do stay tuned. Paul is going to join the show next. Staying, though, with the NHL, we do a playoff game tonight. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final does begin. Montreal at Carolina. Puck drop a little bit after 8 o'clock, and at least for Carolina, this is their first game since May 9th. Over in the NFL, the Detroit Lions have locked up linebacker Jack Campbell to a 4-year deal, so he will not be playing on the 5th-year option. But no word yet on the money actually attached to the contract, but Campbell did confirm himself that the deal is done. While in baseball, Bisons are in action a little bit later on this afternoon. They're on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch at 6:35. While in the majors, Mets at Nationals is underway. The Mets are up 2-0 in the 4th. And then a little bit later on tonight, Yankees host Toronto at 7:05. Catch every take, every reaction, and every big Buffalo sports moment live now on YouTube with Jeremy and Joe in the morning and Schopp and the Bulldog every afternoon. Watch your favorite WGR hosts anytime, anywhere, live on air, live on YouTube. It's brought to you by Belknap Heating and Cooling. For more comfort and less ka-ching, give Belknap a ring. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
See that the AHL is back in Hamilton?
Yes, I did.
The Hamilton Hammers, which, come on, best you can do.
They used to be the Bulldogs when they were Montreal's affiliate for a long time. I have a Hamilton Bulldogs jersey. No name or number on the back, but just the logo. In the time when I was collecting jerseys, I thought, well, I'm radio's the Bulldog. Let's get the one with the big bulldog on the crest.
I get it. They've probably been a lot of things.
I would laugh at myself now for doing so, but back in 1995, that seemed like a perfectly good idea to me.
I would think that Paul, who joins us now on the Western Hotline, would have been up in Hamilton when the Sabres played there some. Right, Paul? In the 90s, maybe? Did they have some games there for some reason? Remember that at all?
Not there. I remember training camp in St. Catharines. I was up there when Mario Lemieux scored that goal with Murphy and Gretzky in the Canada Cup. I covered all that up there. Been to quite a few concerts up there. I saw Michael Jordan play something up there. I don't know what tournament it was or whatever. So yeah, I have seen some cool games in that building.
I'm up there a lot, not in that building or whatever the building is now, but with my daughter.
Yeah, the
plays
Cops Coliseum is the building.
Cops Coliseum.
I don't know what
it's not called that now, but whatever it's called. But that's what it was for years. It was called that. It's funny you guys said that about the Hammers because I was on WGR Rochester today. And Gene said the same exact thing. You could do better than that, can't you?
Did he? Really? And here we are talking to you, and, Hammer is close to Hamilton. Like, Bulldog's got a Bulldogs jersey. You could have interest in the Hammers as a team name. This will be an Islanders affiliate, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So, Paul, what amongst the things that we did not really have time in our limited visit yesterday with you, what should we pour over here? I know it was pretty interesting to me. I know they weren't said right after one another, and I think I might have brought this up to you yesterday, but it's still very interesting to me how cautious and careful Kekalainen sounded about Tuck. And they are different situations. He's about to become a UFA, so the open marketplace is different than a guy like Benson, who's an RFA, or a guy like Byram, who's just going to be going into the final year of a 2-year contract. But he sounded like he couldn't wait to sit down and negotiate with Byram and Benson, and Tuck sounded very much like it's going to have to be on our terms, kind of.
Yeah, and they've already had negotiations with Tuck and his people, so they kind of know where that's headed. And my takeaway from what he said was when he was talking about the contract has to be able to be a contract that will make us better. So what I took from that is I don't know if we can pay him close to what he wants. Like, let's say it's $11 million. He hasn't said that, but that's what the reporting is. Then it's like, well, now we can't re-sign everybody. Now maybe we can't give Benson the contract we want to, at least right away. And so then does that make us better to bring one guy back, shoot the cap, and then maybe can't bring one or two other guys back, or you got to trade somebody? That's how I took that to mean, where Byram is more no matter what, his number doesn't count next year anyway because he already has a contract.
Right, it's 6.25 or whatever it is.
So
right.
I think he'd be more excited to negotiate that because the Skinner, by the time that goes in, the Skinner deal is down and you have more. Plus, he said he feels you build from the back end up, and he feels he is the top 4 defenseman in the league, and he would like to keep that.
And the Benson situation is the opposite of what you just described with Byram, because he's coming off entry level, which is, under $1 million, and there is no buffer there. Like, if his new deal is like the deal of a lifetime, like a Doan type deal or something for Benson, then that's right. The first year, bam, whammo, that's on the cap.
And is Benson willing to take a 1-year deal, knowing, but getting a promise that we will give you the full boat next year type of a thing, just to help us out on the cap type of thing? I don't know if Yarmer would make that kind of deal or not. It's something I would look into, but that's how I take the whole thing. Is just, if you give him $11 million, then you're going to have to do something somewhere else, which is take somebody off your roster.
Paul, on Tuck's series, first of all, when guys sit down for the press conference as they're about to leave for the summer, you have a choice to make whether you want to talk about an injury that you had. There's no obligation to say anything, right? I mean, even I say that almost like it's funny because during the playoffs, guys don't want to talk about it either, but now it's over. So, one player could have an instinct to be like, yeah, I had A, B, and C that I was dealing with. Another, maybe like Tuck yesterday, might say, yeah, not something that we need to really talk about. They might think they're making excuses to talk about an injury. I'm not sure there's a right or wrong way.
Sucker the same way. He wanted to know, because he was actually asked if he was going to need a surgery, and he just said, I don't talk about injuries. It's just not what I do.
And I know I don't have to do that right now, especially because the season is over. But on Tuck, can you explain his series against the Canadiens? Like with Thompson in another way, we all not all, but I certainly felt like there must be something wrong here. But, if there wasn't, there wasn't. Does it make sense to you how he seemed to struggle?
Considering his last 2 games were they were Alex Tuck games. He just couldn't put the puck in the net. But he was playing like Alex Tuck would play. I was thinking that until I saw those 2 games. And I thought, he looks fine. The way he's going. He did say everybody's got bumps and bruises and that kind of thing. But he talked about how, he had a lot of confidence after Boston. He thought he started doing things in the Montreal series that were unlike him to start pressing. And that's what made him kind of angry at himself, that it was like, all right, things aren't going well. And then he tried to do some things that just weren't definitely not going to go well, and it just kind of blew up in his face. And then he just, in the last 2 games, decided it was just time to go out and play freely and do your thing, and it worked for him, other than he just couldn't put the puck past the goaltenders. So it's almost like he said he lost a little confidence as that series went on, and he said it's something, even at his age, that he learned from, and won't happen again because he's been through it now, and he knows you don't handle it the way that he handled it.
How capable do you think they are, without going outside, to find someone to replace him? If they were to let that, we can't get it together, we don't want to pay him 11, we don't want to do an 8-year deal, whatever it is, right? There's a problem, and he's going to go to the market and probably find 12 for 7 somewhere, or 7 for 12 a year. How capable are they of just replacing him? Can Josh Doan kill penalties? These are the questions I'm going to start thinking about and asking. How in-house are they prepared to handle Tuck leaving? And I think more about the penalty killing and the defense than I do the production.
Well, I think of the production too, at 33 and 36 goals in 3 years, in 3 different years. But he mentioned Doan because I asked, he talked about Doan and how well he did, and I said, he improved greatly from his last year in Utah. But where would you like to see improvement? And Lindy Ruff said at the end, he goes, and quite honestly, he goes, you may not be thinking of this, but he goes, I can see him as a penalty killer. And he said, that's also something that, that they may be shooting for too. It would put a pretty big hole in their lineup. And you've got Ostlund and Helenius coming along, and, you need a spot. And Kulik, who can absolutely rip a puck. I mean, the sky's the limit for Kulik, the way he shoots, and who knows how many goals he can put in a season. So, you got to find spaces for those guys. But they are younger players. They don't necessarily play like younger players, especially Ostlund.
Yeah.
I mean, Ostlund at times was their best player. And so he doesn't necessarily play like that. So Gene was asking about free agency too, and I said, well, you look at free agency, the best free agent is on your roster right now.
Right.
So, and you're in a cap pinch a little bit. So if you're looking for somebody under that, when you're already going to be looking for spots for Kulik and Helenius and Ostlund, and where is a spot for the free agent at July 1st that you can overpay? You had gotten Danforth to take faceoffs. That was the reason you brought him in. One of the reasons. Well, theoretically, he should be healthy next year. I mean, that was one of the things they did to try to alleviate that situation.
There's another penalty killer.
Yeah, and so do you need to go out and find a face-off man? So that's the thing. It's like I don't know how much you're going to dabble. Maybe for a defenseman, because Stanley and Shen probably will be gone, and you need maybe a left-handed shooting defenseman there, because Metsa certainly can play, but neither he or Timmins are going to play the left side, and they're not going to break up the top 4. So, where does all that fit in? So maybe you're going to look for a defenseman that you could slide into that spot. I don't really see a guy in Rochester who's ready to do that. So maybe if you're in free agency, that's what you're looking for as your number 6D as a left-handed shooting D.
With Paul Hamilton, we did get to the goalie stuff yesterday a little bit after all the talking was done. How do I want to phrase this? I think a question that could be asked about this year, now that it's over, is, well, did it work, right? I mean, the rotation with Luukkonen and Lyon. I say that. I'm hesitating to say it because I think it has to be said yes. Look at the season they each had. Look at the season the team had. In the end, their goaltending let them down late in the playoffs. So, this is the time of year where you can spitball and talk about whatever, no bad ideas, right? Do you think they will, or maybe this is even a no-brainer as you see it, look at what happened this season in net and basically think, oh, why wouldn't we run that back?
It depends what would pop available for you. I mean, if you get a phenomenal goalie, but I think the overall performance by the goaltenders, especially in the regular season, it absolutely worked. And at times in the playoffs, it worked. But, I'm looking up right now, Luukkonen in the Montreal series, his save percentage was a little bit under 900. His goals against wasn't all that bad. It was like 271. But, his save percentage was 897, which you would want better. He got into 4 games. Lions numbers were not good at all in the Montreal series, and they basically split it. Luukkonen played 221 minutes, and Lyon played 200. So Lyon really played well in the Boston series, got into a really good groove, and then it seemed like it got away from him. Luukkonen, the 2 games in Montreal were phenomenal. The game in Buffalo on Game 5 was not good, but neither was the team in front of him. And Game 7, he made some good saves along the way too, but at the end of the day, they lost in overtime. So, but his save percentage from December 9th on was leading the NHL for most of the time. And the alternating goaltenders, was good for them. They never got into the alternating goaltenders when it got in the playoffs because Lyon had 3 bad games before the season ended, which put Luukkonen in the number 1 spot to start the Boston series. I think they would have stayed with it had it just kept going and not fallen apart right at the end. But we don't know that for sure. But I think he would have stayed with it if it still was going well at the end of the regular season.
Luukkonen is 27 now. I just wonder where the way this ended leaves everybody with him. I mean, I know people who it would have been really tough to do, but they wanted to go to Lyon in Game 7 or even in Game 5 after Luukkonen helped win them Game 4 and was excellent in Montreal. I think, Bulldog, do you agree with this? I think Lyon might be the fan favorite of the two going into next year if they're both on the team. What would your or is it just 50-50? How do you want to do it? I think if they're here, they're going to rotate them probably to start like they did.
My initial answer to that would be that Lyon has been here less, so therefore people don't dislike him as much. Luukkonen has let in. You've got more of a catalog of letdowns. You know, nothing like a Game 7 overtime loss. Of course, the stakes have never been that big. But, you know, Luukkonen we've got some scar tissue with bad goals and missteps, and those offset the excellent stretches of hockey he's played. And there's just more of both, really, than with Lyon. So I think you're probably right. I think that was even happening this year. That people preferred Lyon simply because you just it's like the new quarterback that hasn't proven anything yet. Well, maybe he can be good. I haven't seen him be bad yet. I think there's a little of that with the two guys, but to me, it's a push. They're very much to me equals. They're different guys style wise, but their results were close enough to the same over 82 games to me that I flip a coin on the two of them.
Yeah, and I look at it too. How much do you look at, because I'm looking at it now, that stretch where they did very well starting with the 9th. Luukkonen played 25 games, Lyon played 22. Luukkonen had a .919 save percentage, Lyon .911. I mean, they put up really good numbers.
Yep.
One's 18-4-2 and the other's 17-4-1. I mean, that's not bad.
Right.
When you look at it. So do you ignore that, or do you really not pay attention to it, or do you just look at the playoffs and judge by that? You know, that's the question. How are they going to evaluate it?
Well, they've wrapped everything up over there. I don't know about you. Maybe you get on the next bus to some exotic location yourself. But still sinking in, Paul, that this is over. Just what a great time we all had with it. And for those so inclined to watch the playoffs from here, I mean, tonight's going to sting. Maybe all of it will. Thinking about, I mean, you're sort of damned either way. You watch Montreal get buried and might think like, well, I could have done a better job here, but they were out of gas or something. I mean, 2 7-game road series wins, overtime. But if they're good, maybe that's annoying too. Because, I mean, the Sabres were, they were the better team in Game 7, if you don't want to say it about the whole series, but I think I still would.
Well, this was the day my body crashed. This is the 6th show I've done today, and I have fallen asleep after all of them. I have to set my phone alarm because I can't stop sleeping. My body just has already shut down, and I still have more to go. I still have a TV show to do today, and and I'm not complaining. I mean, it's just I think my body finally said, "Okay, it's over. Good night."
Makes sense.
We've kept you rolling for 2 months now. Now it's time to shut it down for a bit. So I'll probably shut it down. You probably won't hear from me until maybe the middle of next week or so.
Fair enough.
All right, we can manage. You got a quick thought on? See, all that said, I'm going to ask you one more question and keep you a little bit longer.
Go ahead. I mean, I'm awake now.
Clearly, Montreal, Carolina, I don't know if you've thought much about it. You were working and talking to players and coaches for much of the last 48 hours, unlike me, who just does this show and then is free to just think about whatever. And a lot of it is about, I'm not going to lie, about guitars. But then, there's room for hockey. So Montreal, Carolina, I feel like I was high on Ottawa, who Carolina swept in the first round. To me, Philly was like a, like, a joke of a second-round series, and they roared through them too. I wonder if they've seen a team with the high-end skill that Montreal has yet. And I feel like because Anderson's had an excellent playoff, but you know what his history is. And I just wonder, like, how severely he's been tested. And I just feel like Montreal is like, and I would say the same about the Sabres if they were the matchup. That's another level, I think, of skill and talent, the power play, all of it. So I wonder if that gives Montreal just a little bit of a jump start here.
You hit exactly what I was thinking. It's the goaltending. If Anderson is still what he was in the first 2 rounds, Montreal has problems. They really do. I think Carolina rips through them too. If they get that kind of goaltending, they're just that good. And now that I said that, since I'm not very good at predicting Montreal will sweep them or something, but yeah, that's. I think it's all up to Anderson. If Anderson becomes the playoff Anderson of before, Montreal has a really good chance of winning this series and probably will. But if he is lights out like he was in the first 2 rounds, the Canadians, I think, are in trouble.
Thank you, Paul. Enjoy whatever comes of your break.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
There you go. There's Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline, and his appearances here on WGR are brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.
When you fall asleep 5 or 6 times in the course of a day, how many times do you brush your teeth? Every time you wake up? Is there a sort of a length of time of sleep where really law of diminishing tooth returns? Like I just sort of, I'm okay. I'm still okay here. Or do you have to go back in there every time you wake up because you got that taste in your mouth?
I don't know. 5 or 6 is a lot.
Imagine brushing your teeth 6 times a day.
I'm a regular nap person. It's probably 10 minutes to 20 minutes, a day, somewhere in that window. It's never longer. Sometimes it never happens at all. I just lie down and nothing happens, and 20 minutes later I get up. And I do not ever feel that like my mouth is gamey in the way that it is when you wake up at 4 in the morning.
Okay.
So I do not go brush my teeth after I've slept for 20 minutes or so.
But if you did that 5 times in a day, maybe eventually you have to get back in there.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, these are the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah. Well, good thing you're here.
I listened to an old football game to fall asleep last night. Miami-Denver. Tell me if you remember this game.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1, 1971.
No.
10-10 final.
Oh, yeah, now I do. Yep.
So you remember the end.
No kneecaps McGee recovered a fumble.
I didn't say 1951.
All right. No, I don't know anything about
Although Miami did fumble a lot in this game.
Everybody fumbled a lot in the 70s.
That's right. It's hard to believe. It's hard to make sense of.
You want to amuse yourself sometime, go look at the turnover stats from the 70s. Oh. Quarterbacks, running, whatever. Just fumbles and interceptions, and it's hilarious.
I know. 79 Steelers, like 60 turnovers.
Right.
Didn't the Bills have 8 2 years ago? So this game, Lou Saban is the Denver coach.
Okay.
It's the opener. It's in Denver. And Miami punts with like a minute left. Denver's on its 20 or 30-yard line. The minute left.
Tie game?
10-10.
Okay.
There's no overtime
all right.
in 1971 in the regular season. And Denver runs 3 handoffs. And the crowd is just booing mercilessly. Like week 1, the crowd, that line, was it a Marv Levy line? If you start listening to the fans, you're going to be sitting with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wrong. Because here, the Broncos fans are like, "What are you doing? I mean, we're just playing for the tie here." So on the 3rd down play, it's Floyd Little, Hall of Famer. He would lead the league in rushing that year.
44.
Floyd Little runs for the 1st down. Well, now this is complicated because now there's like 30 seconds left, and I have a 1st down now. And then they run a pass play to the fullback to get to midfield, and or 23 seconds maybe it was. I don't know, something like that. So I'm at midfield. The goalposts are on the front of the end zone. I've got kickers are big, bigger and better now, but it's 10 yards less by the math of how far away you are. So I'm at the 50, 10-10, 23 seconds to go. Handoff, short gain. That's it. No timeouts are ever called. And the crowd is just losing it on Denver.
You listened to this, not watched it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I listened to the Miami
I
broadcast.
was gonna make a joke about, was there a graphic telling you how many timeouts were left? But not.
I don't know.
There would have been.
But I think in those days they didn't even think of timeouts. I think or passes.
Right. Or scoring.
What about the Hail Mary hadn't been invented yet? That's Staubach.
Right.
It's like 75.
The old Met in Minnesota.
How did no one think to just launch one? But no, they just ran the clock out on themselves and took the 10-10 tie. I have a podcast where it's all kinds of old sporting events. Most of them are baseball. And this was one football game on there. And who's on the Miami broadcast? Larry King.
Wow.
He's like the color man. ...
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was the longest field goal probably kicked in 1971? 40 yards?
Well, Dempsey is 70.
In that year?
70.
Okay.
No, 63 yards, but 1970.
1970. Okay, all right.
But, yeah, I mean, there might not have been a 50-yard field goal.
Yeah, but still, like you're 10 yards from a 40-yard field goal try.
Right. Well, 47.
Okay, right. That's right.
But, yes, makeable.
I think,
right?
yeah.
I mean, these are still
worth the effort.
Grown-ups.
Worth the effort at least.
These are trained professionals.
He's got, the kicker. Yeah, he's not as good.
Jim Turner.
He's got that square-toed shoe and everything. He kicked the crap out of that ball.
It'd be Jim Turner.
Yeah,
I believe Denver. Well, anyway, I thought you'd like that. 803-0550 for your calls.
I did like it.
Good.
Thank you.
What better than the toothbrush stuff? Bet you like this more or less. Lines are open. We'll talk about the Sabres again after this break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Final is tonight, Montreal at Carolina. Puck drop is just a little bit after 8 p.m. And for Carolina, this is the first time we're going to see them in quite a while. Their first game since May 9th. In the NFL, the Detroit Lions have locked up linebacker Jack Campbell. It's a 4-year deal for him. Campbell did officially announce this himself, but we've not yet seen reports on the money attached to the contract. And then over in baseball, Bisons are in action tonight. They're on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch is at 6:35, while in the majors, the Mets are at the Nationals. That is underway. Mets are up 2-1 in the 6th, and the Yankees, they're going to host Toronto at 7:05. While in basketball, we have Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final. Knicks host the Cavs. Game time also 8 o'clock, and New York does hold a 1-0 series lead. That is your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
All three of them pushed each other, shared the net, and tried to make each other better. And I know that Alex Lyon's experience was great for UPL and Frellis, that he could share his experiences of where he's been and help these guys out at the same time. But those three guys got along great, and that's one of the ideas right now.
Lindy Ruff yesterday. We'll see what Jarmo Kekalainen and the Sabres have up their collective sleeves here this offseason. First thing, well, at least once the playoffs are over, is the draft, which is in Buffalo in a month. And that's when a lot of action happens, to whatever extent there is action. We'll see what they want to do. July 1st is still July 1st in hockey, right? Free agency?
Yes.
Then we get to about a week after that, and it's dead until training camp.
Well, they can still make moves, but remember that one time Skinner got traded to the Sabres in August? Yeah. But it's pretty rare, yeah.
Let's go to John here. Hi, John.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Thanks, John.
Good. First time, long time. So it's really a pleasure to be on, and
I hope it goes
I think
well
it's
for
amazing.
You. Thank you.
I mean, I'm so grateful that you guys and all the fans got to enjoy hockey until May in the year 2026. So
likewise.
Here. Yep.
So I just wanted to weigh in on the whole Alex Tuck thing, because I think it's a huge hole, and it's it feels eerily reminiscent of, like, we got rid of Skinner, which I was actually in favor of, but then they really didn't fill that, so Peterka steps up, and then we lose Peterka, and then we we didn't know that we were going to fill that with a Josh Stone, but it worked out this year. If we get rid of Tuck, I don't know that you have that kind of player in the pipeline. So I guess I'm curious to know which one of these players could really progress that far to fill that kind of hole.
Well, I mean, this could take a little bit, John. You might have a few guys who do some of the lifting each to get you there. I think, let me see if this is right. Bulldog said to Paul about Tuck that you were, if I'm right here, less worried about the production void, than maybe penalty killing or some other intangibles. And I think you might want or expect 2 or 3 players to add 10 goals, being that they're so young, and maybe a bigger opportunity, more minutes, better line mates, that kind of thing, more of an offensive role. I think that's all quite possible with the Sabres. I still want to say again, I think a good GM to get the A++ on this might think, well, I know that the Tuck contract I would need to sign is bad business, so let me go find a player in the league that I can extract, that I can mix in here and get in. The sum total of all of it is I have basically the same team. I can replace Tuck in a certain, particular way. How am I doing so far? Like, does this sound a little bit like I'm setting up for the press conference where when this is going to be on you also, when they traded Peterka, okay, but where are the goals going to come from?
Right.
And I mean, they figured it out.
They did. They did. They absolutely did. And it was, Doan largely did it himself. Which is kind of incredible. I liked that idea when they made that trade. and thought like they've got a sneaky good guy here who can develop into something. I certainly did not think, and I doubt that they thought like halfway through the year they were going to sign him to a 7-year contract. But I mean, whatever, that happened. He earned it. So I don't mind them expecting there to be more there and more all around. It's just if you need it all to hit, that's where I get a little like, okay, they're all going to score more. No one's going to regress. No one. So I don't know. It's a huge risk to me for sorry, just still sort of acclimating to talking about the Sabres like this. But you're a Stanley Cup contending team. You're in that window right now. And sure, year over year, there's a point of no return and large regret on a big Alex Tuch contract. So I'm listening to ideas, and I'm ready. Doan is a good idea. Hearing Lindy Ruff say that he can see him being a penalty killer. I don't know if he means as soon as next year, but maybe that's already something they're thinking about, preparing for the eventuality. I just think it's a lot to ask all the kids to elevate and replace Alex Tuch. So why I got to, and these are connected even though they're not transactionally going to be involved with one another. If I can, and I know now I'm talking about removing 2 high-priced veteran producers from my team, but if I can find a way to replace Norris with Robert Thomas, I think that buffers losing Tuch. Even though they don't play the same position, and even though I'm losing Norris on top of losing Tuch, because I don't trust Norris to be here to produce. When he's healthy, I think he can be wonderful. I barely liked him at all in the playoffs. He had a couple of good games. Mostly it was like, don't stop falling down and maybe shoot the puck once in a while. And that's with him, I think, relatively in one piece. So if I get something more bankable in the form of my number one center, I keep Thompson on the wing. Maybe my number one line is Robert Thomas, Thompson, and Benson. And then I start filling in from there, right? I've got Kulik back. I've got Hellenius. I've got Ostlund. These guys can all play center. They probably all won't because there aren't enough offensive roles for that many centers. Because I'm still going to have, Carrick is under contract. Maybe that's my fourth-line center going in, right?
He is, isn't he?
Yeah. So I think if I can get my hands on something that and again, who knows? Anybody can get hurt, right? But Norris has a long track record that for me is hard to trust. So if I can swing that, Robert Thomas, to replace him, I feel like that consistent production in the lineup night over night all year long really helps insulate me from needing every single kid to graduate at once to replace Tuch. So that's why I got to that. It's multifaceted. I think Thomas is going to help you and be every bit a point-a-game player as a first-line center, and I think that helps offset the production you lose from Tuch, and hopefully the rest of the stuff, the defending and the penalty killing and all that, gets backfilled by whomever, Doan, Justin Danforth. I don't know how many spots we're going to have. But I can remove those 2 guys, replace them with one, and feel okay about the big picture, I think.
I totally get the point, and we've lived it, and it's been frustrating with the Sabres for most of the last decade at least. This idea, sort of close your eyes, cross your fingers. There are good prospects. There are always good prospects with the Sabres. That has never not been true. These losing years until this one. Hellenius scored 1 regular season goal in 9 games. What should that be if he plays full time? Could that be 20 goals? If he's a full-time player, I don't know what role exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I know.
Maybe, I know, you're right.
But what would your ceiling? Well, I'm not trying to build an argument that you're going to hit your ceiling, but
yeah.
There's a pretty good one for him.
I think eventually there is. I think it's a lot to ask. Like right out of the chute, he's just going to become a 50-point guy.
All right,
but maybe it happens.
Ostlund had 11 in 60 games, so about a 15-goal pace as a rookie. I mean, it's not unreasonable either to expect that to go up. Like maybe it's a little ambitious. You're saying all of them, and I get it. Kulik played 12 games, scored 3 goals. Last year, he played 62 as a rookie and scored 15 goals. So that could be, this is risky. It's riskier with each name, but here's a guy coming off a lost season for a blood clot. Can I get production out of him? It's, like I said, and like you've said, it might not feel that comfortable to just assume, which is what you're almost doing, or what I'm almost doing, that all of this is just going to happen because it's all, at least in terms of Oslin and Helenius, it's trended up, sharply in the last month or, during the playoffs. But I think I want all of that to happen. If I don't get those goals that I'm hoping for, then I don't. But I want to find out. My plan would be for all these guys to be in the lineup night one. And you've got Benson here, too, and you point out how Benson has never been like a big point producer, but that's going the right way. And you're talking about big money for him.
It probably should come. I'm bullish on him. We haven't seen it yet. So how bankable is it exactly, it's funny. Like he was maybe their best forward in the playoffs, and that looks great. Tuck was one of their worst. But over the year, Benson was bad during the year, but there was just not a lot. He had 43 points. This is not a lot of production.
60 games, 62 games.
Yeah, 65. That's right. He did miss some time. I all of this is just to say, just circle all the way back to where I started here a few minutes ago. I think I have a much easier time signing up for that if I can replace Norris with someone that I can really count on.
Okay.
Then I think I'm getting some of the production from that guy that I'm losing in Tuck, and then I trust that the rest will backfill those other guys. And it decreases the pressure, and it also opens up room. I do I want all those guys, I think, on my team on opening night. The kids, Helenius, and, of course, Benson, and Oslin. And so if I want that, and I want them in the right roles, where am I putting Tuck? Like, if Norris is still here and Norris is my number one center, then okay.
Thompson's on the wing.
Right, Thompson's on the wing. Thomas is in the middle. If I can make that trade happen and divest myself of Norris, I think that sets me up pretty well to have the production and room for the kids to grow in more prominent roles.
Well, John, who called in, I said to him, I believe this might take a minute. It took 6.
Yep.
It's not an easy one. It's not cut and dried, the Tuck thing. It is on a certain level, like, all right, well, I've got a big free agent, and he's going to cost a lot, and maybe I hope I can keep him for less than market value. We've had that numerous times. And with the Sabres, it usually doesn't work out. But, maybe he stays. We'll see. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for the call, John. This is WGR. The Bisons are in Syracuse this week. I don't know where you are, or else I would tell you if you have time to get to the game tonight, 6:35. I would say if you're in Victor, maybe, probably not. Anywhere east of that, I think you got a shot. I think Manchester, Palmyra, certainly going the other way, Waterloo, that's all in play. You can get to this game. 6:35. The Bisons, when they're leading after 8 innings, 13-0. Trailing after 8, 0-19. I'm not saying you want to leave early.
But it's out there for you.
But you might file this one in the books after 8.
Would not be any big surprises after the 8th inning of a Bison's game.
Will this be the night that flips? That one way or the other, there's a 9th inning rally for the win. That's 6:35 tonight. The Blue Jays are in New York for another game with the Yankees. No Max Fried now for the Yankees, injured. Mets are playing now. This game's been on, started at 4. Completely forgettable baseball game, this one.
Yeah,
just on.
Sparsely attended day game in Washington, D.C.
Yep. Mets and Nats.
As a lot of day games can be.
Throw out the record books.
Sparsely attended. Yep.
Tonight in the Eastern Conference Finals, Carolina, according to Evan Abrams, who was once a frequent guest of ours in the betting space, minus 200 makes them the third highest favorite for a finals or semifinals game 1 since 2000. Vegas against Montreal in the COVID year. That was a semifinal series.
Sure.
Tuck was on Vegas.
Yeah, okay.
That's the number one. Biggest favorite for a one game. For a game 1.
Mm-hmm.
In the semis or later, this is the third highest favorite in, I guess, 26 years.
Boy, those divisions just mixed everything up.
I know.
Like these matchups. What do you mean Montreal played Vegas in the semis?
And then Tampa?
Right.
For the Cup? I know. Something should have stopped that.
Right.
EJ Hradek on the Sabres season next on WGR.
Eastern Conference Final starts tonight. It's Game 1, Montreal at Carolina. Puck drop a little bit after 8 o'clock, and this will be Carolina's first game since May 9th. We did have some NFL news today. The Detroit Lions locked up linebacker Jack Campbell to a 4-year deal. No word yet, though, on the money attached to that contract, but Campbell himself did officially confirm the deal got done. And then in baseball, Bisons are in action tonight. They're on the road versus Syracuse. First pitch for that game is at 6:35. While in the majors, Mets at the Nationals, that is underway. The Mets are up 2-1 in the 8th, while coming up at 7:05, Yankees, they host Toronto. In basketball, we do have Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks host the Cavs. Game time is at 8. New York does lead that series 1-0. And then this was just announced a few minutes ago. Two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch has died at the age of 41 after being hospitalized today with what was called a severe illness. There is no other information at this time. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, welcome back. EJ Hradek in a moment. We're just in here talking fantasy. And you say, is that what that was?
Talking. One of us was listening.
Well, it's nice of you to be listening.
I mean, and honestly, barely. But yeah, you were talking about fantasy.
I was telling the story of how I got back into it.
I was rolling my eyes the whole time.
Anytime, for whatever reason, we get into a conversation about something on Dingeon Street, I end up thinking of that story. That's where I sort of got the flames were stoked, if you will.
You're always
reignited.
You're always ready to go full burn.
Anything Dingeon Street related, I'm back in that hotel bar having a fantasy draft, and it all just sort of pops. Thanks for listening to my story, though.
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Yes, I'm not anymore. EJ Hradek is back with us one more time from NHL Network. You can catch EJ on NHL Tonight, first shift. Well, this is what it can sound like when we lose.
Right, that's right, EJ.
That's right.
Just randomness. Randomness. Well,
I'll bet your other previous visits did not include any talk about fantasy football while you were sitting on hold. Although it's possible a couple of them have while I wasn't here, so who knows? But yeah,
that's true.
Well, EJ, and welcome back. Thanks for taking the time again. How I don't know how bummed out should we be? I mean, it still was a great year, but man, they were so good. Lindy said it. I felt it. I was in there. I thought they were gonna win that game. They had so many chances. It felt like.
Yeah, that's
hockey.
That's playoff hockey. I mean, that is right. I mean, you know it. And if anybody has watched it for any length of time, I mean, it's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, and there's no rhyme or reason a lot of times to how games end. It was pretty clear Buffalo had, I thought, the better opportunities and had played better over the course of the 60 minutes. But, look at Montreal Game 7 against Tampa. They had 9 shots on goal and they won. Why did they win? Because of Dobish. And, I thought Dobish was, again, a difference maker, and you got to credit him. I mean, he got run out in Game 6. I was up in Montreal for Game 6, and, it didn't look good, and you started wondering, is this guy just going to be worn out? Is he tired? He hasn't played this many games in a row ever in this high-intensity playoff hockey, and, he came up with a great effort, and Montreal was able to find a way to get a goal in overtime, and they won it. So, your original question, it's heartbreaking in the moment for sure because the team had just been so lights out good since that December 9th. That's the day when they kind of turned it around. But the beautiful news is that, this team is not going anywhere. I was joking with different media members during the Game 6 and throughout the series. I'm like, get used to seeing those colors on the ice in the playoffs against each other because neither of these teams, Montreal and Buffalo, are really going anywhere. They both have a lot of really good young players, and Buffalo Sabres, are positioned really well moving forward.
You know, it's so funny to hear it put that way, EJ, and I'm glad that you did, because I would when Caulfield and Suzuki first got to Montreal and the Sabres had Eichel and Reinhart, I thought we were going to get there. Then it just took each team a little bit longer to get to a point where, this is at, the tail end of Eichel and Reinhart, obviously. Caulfield and Suzuki are not that old, but still, like, I thought we were there, and it took another cycle or two, and like now I totally agree with you. Both teams look pretty low.
Yeah. The good, it's funny. I got the sense, and I think we've talked about this in the previous, conversations we've had, is I just got the sense from afar. I'm not, in the room. I'm covering the 32 teams around the National Hockey League, but I've always, for at least the last 2 years, going back to that opener in Prague against the Devils 2 years ago, I looked at their roster, and I think they had good players then, and they've made some tweaks, but this is a team, and I think you heard them talk about it in the aftermath, is they just got tired of losing as a group. They had that dinner, and they had a really kind of, they just realized that, hey, what do we have to do to be better? And they figured it out. And sometimes, players and teams do that. You call it maturity, call it what you will, but, give those players a lot of credit because, they turned that thing completely around. And, those last several months, it was just piling up wins and getting into the second round of the playoffs. And if it's not for a bounce one way or the other, they're getting ready for the Eastern Conference Final. So I think there's bright skies ahead, but, we'll see where it goes from here.
EJ, you mentioned those colors on the ice together. Get ready to see that often. They're also damn good colors and together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, wasn't it a great series aesthetically?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
They're not all that good.
They are not. Believe me, I had to go watch some highlights of Anaheim and Edmonton. I mean, that was ugly. A lot of orange.
Yeah.
And that when those two were playing each other. So no, those are obviously the Montreal Canadiens are an original 6 team, and the Buffalo Sabres have been in the league. They're in that next group of a couple of teams, and they have been. Couple different iterations of the jerseys. I always have preferred the blue and the gold there, but there are people who like the goat head and the whole thing. So
it makes it interesting in the building because you see everything.
Yes,
we had red.
Exactly.
I mean, yellow. It's quite a color
We've
scheme
had it
in
all.
there. It would
We've had
pretty
it all.
pretty much. Well, one topic of conversation here now that this is all over is goaltending, and you've mentioned Dobish already. You have interesting developments around the league and around the playoffs with teams using more than one goaltender. Montreal has yet to do that. They still could, I think, but the Sabres go into the offseason. In your mind, where? By the end of this, their goaltending faltered. It wasn't horrendous, but, man, Game 5 especially, Lyon gets pulled on 4 shots in Game 6. Do you think they should or will just run back these two guys, both under contract? They had a fabulous year. Or does how it ended prove them something that would change their view on that?
I think what you do is you go through the process of examining the guys and how they've played this year, and I think that UPL and Alex Lyon played very well, I think, for the most part, and Colton Ellis played well on the occasion he was in. And there's still the question of Levy and the minors, right? Like, what's that I don't think he's the answer, but that's just, my opinion, and, we'll see. But I think you have to look at those guys, and then you have to say, okay, what would be available?
Right.
Because people will say, I've already talked to some people about this, and they're like, well, they've got to make some changes. They got to, okay, but, who's better? Who's out there that's available that's better? I mean, the Edmonton Oilers have been trying to chase that down for a couple of years now, and while you can blame management there for a couple of very strange decisions, there haven't been, there's not, Jacques Plante isn't on the market, or Ken Dryden, or go through the eras of goaltending, or Carey Price, or Henrik Lundqvist, whoever you want to go to. These guys are just, they're not available. They're not easy to find. And so if Yarmo identifies a goaltender or two that he thinks he can get to come to Buffalo and to be better than what they have, then I'm sure they'll do it. But, those are the considerations you have to have. Now, he had Bobrovsky in Columbus. Bobrovsky could be a free agent, but at this stage of the game, is that a direction you want to go? Because he's older, and does he want to be in Buffalo? I have no idea. He seems to like it in South Florida. So, you don't want to have a guy that's only there as a mercenary just because he's getting a bigger contract. So that's the direction. I mean, I think that they need probably to upgrade their goaltending, but you have to do it in a smart way, and I don't know who that guy is that's better than what they have right now.
By the way, EJ, both Ruff and Kekalainen yesterday referred to how something to the effect that next year teams are all going to have the so-called E-bug, emergency backup goalie. Like, Ruff started to talk about it, and I thought maybe he was headed for a punchline. But actually, you don't know this, but next year we're going to be required. And I don't know if you know anything about that, but I'm wondering just about sort of the different dynamics of that and how that'll work. But that's what came out.
It's not going to be like a third goalie. It's going to be someone that you have that is. There are certain
qualifications or lack thereof, right?
Yes, exactly. Or lack of. You're right. I mean, or lack of is a part of it too. It's not like you're going to sign a guy who is an actual goalie. It's kind of, I think it's a little murky still for me because, like you guys, I know it was coming, but I don't know all the details. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's. Again, I mean, those are going to be emergency situations. You're going to be required to have that. They just wanted to, have that as, they just found the way they were doing it was a little bit strange after a while. So the bottom line is, can they get someone to come in there that's better than UPL or get someone that is better than Lyon or Ellis? And, that's going to be the question. Of the market on the top, guys, when I think of the marketplace, I just don't know that goalie is out there. Now, perhaps there's teams that have a couple that, Buffalo has assets. Maybe they want to make a trade for somebody. Mm-hmm. But again, that requires, moving somebody out. So UPL is, he's shown flashes over the years. He's been their guy for a while. We've been waiting. He's had injuries. He's had moments when he's been really good. But, again, you're trying to build the Stanley Cup champion and, is he the guy that's going to take you there? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't argue with anyone, like Mike just said, like the goaltending ultimately, let him down. Each guy got pulled multiple times through the two series that they played, but it was so good. It was a strength of theirs all year long, really all three guys, that off of one playoff run that it was a weakness. I don't think without an obvious upgrade – I don't think I go just change seats, right? Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon's place does what for me exactly? I don't know, but I think you go through another year and it happens again. Then I think, okay, well, I got to try another guy. Let's change. Let's hope for better. But off of 1 year, I'm inclined to just stand pat, because I don't think Bobrovsky's a real good idea. I don't know if the Rangers are going to trade Shesterkin and just go full atomic blast on the rebuild there or what. But short of that, living in the vast middle class of goaltending and changing guys out, to me, doesn't sound like any kind of an idea that's worth taking.
And I agree with that. And, also, you still have the opportunity to draft, develop, sign guys. I mean, look what happened with Brendan Bussey this year in Carolina. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not the guy that's playing for them in the playoffs, but he had a darn good year for the Carolina Hurricanes, and they were able to find this guy as a waiver pickup. There's a lot of goalies out there, and I think you want to throw a lot of darts and have guys, hopefully you have good goalie evaluators in your organization, and, you're bringing guys in and you're giving them opportunity to challenge for the job. I mean, there's it's an interesting market for goalies, and it's an interesting position these days, and it's definitely changed over the last several years. And so those are other options for the Sabres as well. I mean, scouting and development is a huge part of all this. So there's guys out there that, given the opportunity, might be players that can come in and be that person for you.
EJ, if you can, just a couple more quick things. The biggest topic here with the Sabres this summer will be Alex Tuch going into free agency. People tell me he's the clear best free agent going to market, at least among forwards. Got to take, it's a pretty classic case, guy into his 30s, did not get a point in the second round, had a very good first round in season. It's been a lot to the Sabres. I don't need to tell you that. What should they be thinking?
Well, I mean, the salary cap is going up. I'd have to do a deeper dive on all their players. I know they have a lot of guys that are under contract. You know, that was one of the things that was noticeable about their team when they weren't performing as well, as they had guys under contract for long periods of time. As always, it's term and dollars, right? What makes sense. I would be really inclined to try to keep Alex Tuch if I'm the Buffalo Sabres. Again, he leaves. It's hard to replace. Now, they have some younger players in their group that are emerging, getting better, and some that weren't even part of this year. Kulik hopefully is going to be back and be a part of things for them. And, they got some other young guys that, Oslin is another guy. But, Alex Tuch is a unique player. He's a big, strong, skates really well. He's proven that he can score goals in this league. And he wanted to be there. When other guys didn't want to be there, he wanted to be there. And he's been part of this whole thing. And I think, I've been around Alex a couple of different times. I wouldn't say I know him all that well, but I can remember seeing him in Vegas when he was part of that team that went to the final. And, I think he's a high-end person. So, we'll see where it goes. I was under the impression that, they were going to make every effort to keep him. We'll see what, things have obviously changed. There's a new manager over the last 6 months. So, if he wants some kind of a contract that's out of step with what they can do, I guess they have to make a hard decision. But, you don't replace, again, it's the same thing I said about the goalies. I mean, you can let them go, but, and you hope that some of these younger guys can come in and do that. But he's a unique player. And I know that he didn't have point in the series, and that's disappointing. I thought he had a lot of chances, and maybe in a different circumstance he would have scored a lot more in that series. It just didn't happen. But, to me, those guys are hard to replace. He's a known commodity.
Well, you mentioning his size there. Really, we've been talking about him, not surprisingly, on and off here for a couple of days. And, we're high on Helenius and Oslund, but and Ben, Benson, but these are all guys that are little guys. And Tuch is 6'4" and scoring 60 points and 30 goals. Like that's something that I hadn't really processed into the equation.
Matters.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I loved Benson in the playoffs. I thought he was he competed in every minute of every, at every area of the ice. But, I mean, again, he's not the biggest guy, and guys who play like that worry me in terms of the longevity of their career and their ability to be productive players just because they get banged up. That kid doesn't shy away from anything or anyone, and that's great, but he's going to take a beating. That's just the nature of it. And, I like those other guys that you mentioned as well. I mean, but like I said, Tuch is a big, strong guy. You know what he does. And I think if you're basing it on all he didn't score in that series, I thought he had chances. I thought he had some bad luck. I thought he hit some posts. I thought Dobish made some really good stops on him. Was it perfect? Could he have been better? Sure. But, a lot of guys probably could have been better in that series. I mean, It went back and forth. It went up and down. And, even in the goalies, were there some goals that, they should have had? Sure. But what I would tell you is, got to tighten it up a little bit too. I mean, I love the way those – I've told you before, those four defensemen, that top four group is fantastic. I put it up against any top four group in the league on defense. But to me, they still have to get better at some of the details. And when you get into a playoff series and you get into, in an overtime game, I mean, it's baseline tennis. Hit it in, you're just trying to hit the ball over the net and make sure you don't give somebody an opportunity or an opening, and, they turned the puck over high in the zone, and the puck went the other way, and there's a flash screen, and a puck hits the net. I mean, that's one of the things about the Sabres. I thought Thompson came in the overtime, shoot the puck. Like, he won the World Championships coming down the right side on a similar play. He tried to kind of make a play to the net, and he never really got a shot off.
Yeah.
And so these are just simple things to me. And, like, that Newhook just shot the puck. It wasn't anything great. It was kind of a knuckle puck, and there was a flash screen, and it went in. So, like, again, it's just little things. It's details, and that's where they'll have to try to be better next year when they get into that spot. But the beauty is they've experienced it now. They understand it more.
Right.
And they've got high skill. So if they can fix the details, maybe the goalies they have are just fine as long as their details are a little bit better.
EJ, we've had a great time talking to you today and this year. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much, guys. And to the Sabre fans, hey, you had a great season, and there's more good news to come, so enjoy.
Thanks a lot. EJ Hradek, NHL Network, first shift, 4 o'clock Eastern through the playoffs. Sal Capaccio joined us earlier today talking about the Bills, some interesting topics with them. That'll be coming your way next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.